Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Good afternoon. 28 days. 28 days. Wow, it is really getting close to the big day. 28 days. Wow. Now, we've been obviously talking about the election, counting down the days for quite some time now, but does it seem somewhat surreal that we are literally only 28 days away? What about you folks? Do you feel excited? Perhaps anxious? Maybe somewhat nervous that your candidate of choice may or may not be victorious? Or do you feel confident? Do you feel confident that the candidate you believe that has the best direction for America is likely to win? 28 days. It is very close, folks. So, what we're going to be talking about today is what you see on the screen behind yours truly. Now, I want to ask you folks, does this even matter? Now, you see on the screen behind me, picture of both presidential candidates asking the question, which one do you trust the most? Who do you trust? In regards to leading this great nation, with the choice being Kamala Harris or former President Trump, does trustworthiness of a presidential candidate, is that even relevant? Maybe if you believe that Harris is going to do the right thing by the American people or that Trump is going to get the economy back on track, you can kind of give a damn about whether they were trustworthy or not. If they meet your needs, if they fit the bill, maybe trustworthiness is not necessarily important to you. But that is what we're going to be discussing today. Which one of these candidates do you believe is the most trustworthy? Now, make no mistake about it, they both have been caught being dishonest. They both have. We could talk about, maybe one has been more dishonest more than the other, so on and so forth. But they both have been caught being dishonest. Now, one clear marker we have to discuss is the simple fact that Trump has spoken far more in a public setting than Kamala Harris. Most likely, if Trump never said a word from this day forward, Kamala Harris probably still wouldn't catch up, even if she won the presidency. Trump is just in the spotlight that much more than Kamala Harris. So, most likely, just about everybody is going to say that Trump has said more things that are of suspicious nature than Kamala Harris because he's been in the spotlight more. But I'm asking the question in regards to if you have to trust one of these individuals to lead this nation, which one is more trustworthy in your opinion? And I'd like to know why. With only 28 days remaining. So we're going to go ahead and dig into the show. Now, obviously, the day is October 7th, so Israel and their entire experience being exactly 1 year old today is likely to come up. At this point, you got, once again, the choice between these two candidates leading us into what could easily become a regional war at least. There is a very good chance with Israel promising to retaliate against Iran that we may be on the cusp of a regional war. And one of these candidates is going to be the president of this country when that takes place. We will discuss that. But for now, we're talking about trustworthy candidates. And who do you feel between these two are the most trustworthy? And of course, does it even matter if you believe the candidates have the best interests are? Now I want to play something for you because some of you folks may question what have you heard from Kamala Harris recently. This is something I've brought up before. This took place at the presidential debate between Harris and Trump.
January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
That's not true. That is not true. Now, she's stating that 140 law enforcement officers were injured. I'm not certain of the number on January 6th of officers that were injured, but the phrase "and some died" is flat out false. That is not true. No officers lost their life on January 6th.
140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an...
So I just wanted to point that out. We can go into, I don't want to really go too deep into the clip, but no officers lost their life, whereas it was attributed directly to the events of January 6th. And I've certainly looked it up. There are folks who I believe perished the day after or something like that. And even then, their deaths were not attributed to any injuries sustained on January 6th. So what she's saying is not true. What she is saying is not true. I would like for folks in the comments who believe it is true, give me the name of an officer. We can look it up on air in real time, and certainly I'll concede the point, but I'm fairly sure no officer as a cause of death, January 6th was listed. That did not happen. And it absolutely did not happen on January 6th. So for folks who are saying, well, maybe not that days later, she is stating it happened on that day. What Kamala Harris is saying here is flat out false. And of course, during this debate, she was not fact-checked. She was not fact-checked for what she said. That should have been fact-checked. In regards to, I see folks like Chris in the comments saying maybe days later. Well, the fact-checker should have fact-checked her on that, because she is alluding to the notion that people died on that day. I'll go to the comments.
To attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. She
clearly says on that day, 140 law officers were injured and some died. No one died on that day, as she's stating. What she said is flat out incorrect. So looking in the comments, though, her hubby is one of the number one shareholders in the new mines going in and where all the shit just happened in North Carolina. Mobile RV, I'm not aware. You're saying that the husband of Kamala Harris is one of the number one shareholders in the new mines, like I guess you digging up a mine or whatever. Look, at the end of the day, when it comes to politics, that shit is quite prevalent. I mean, how many folks that support Trump voted for Cheney when he was making a killing off of Halliburton? So I hear your point, but that's kind of the way politics works. That a lot of the politicians are deeply involved investment-wise in a lot of shit they deal with. I don't want where it starts with Kamala Harris to all of a sudden be something we're concerned with. We've been letting politicians get away with stuff like that forever, Mobile RV. Looking in the comments real quick, they like protests as long as it's where we live and not near D.C. Then it's an issue. There was a ton of protests in D.C. They even named a street Black Lives Matter Way. What are you talking about? Tons of protests have been in D.C. So do we understand the context in which she said it? Officers died from the events that unfolded. I don't like using terms like context, because I got to admit that's often what defenders of Trump say, is you took him out of context. Good people on both sides, or bloodbath, you took him out of context. When you start using context, to me, it just sounds very similar to that. She stated on that day, 140 officers were injured and some died. That did not happen on that day. What she said is factually false. It's not true. Going to the box, DLOJ, Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. So, are you saying it's okay to assault police? Where the hell is that coming from? What have I stated that has indicated it's okay to assault police? Where the hell are you getting it from? DLOJ, good afternoon. Oh, yeah. So, am I wrong in pointing out that Kamala Harris was factually inaccurate about this?
You're not wrong in that. And I'm voting for Kamala. So you're not wrong in that. Everybody needs to be fact checked every now and then.
Right.
But I guess it could have been a slip of the tongue. You never know. Because she probably it looked like that she was trying to be precise in her words. And she could be like, some, as in someone died or some people died. But it sounds like she's tying it directly to the officer. So
yeah, she never used the phrase, later on or in subsequent days or a couple days later. She clearly says on that day, and then she names awful events that took place, such as officers got hurt and some died. So she's clearly talking about on that day. I mean, the word on that day comes out of her mouth, and it's not followed up with discussions about any other day going forward.
And it's not saying that some people died or someone died specifically. She's moving it towards the police officers. So yeah, you're right in that. A fact check. I'm with you when you're right.
Yeah. It's crazy how many folks in the comment section do not want Kamala. Now we're going to talk about Trump also, because the whole purpose of the show is asking, which one of these candidates is more trustworthy or not. But starting with Kamala, I'm getting bashed. Oh, I didn't mean to put that up. I'm getting bashed because a lot of folks don't want Kamala Harris fact checked, apparently.
See, I think what a lot of people don't understand is that when the debate happened, we already knew what question was going to be asked because they spewed it out throughout every little campaign trailer they had.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever Trump was saying something, that was already being taken note. So when you put him on the debate stage, you already know what you're going to ask. You already know what his answer is, and you was just quick to fact check it on that at that point. So I mean, it wasn't too hard. You only got like 3 or 4 topics: the border, immigration, Second Amendment, immigrants, and all that other stuff. So you only have maybe like 4 or 5 topics.
Right. So, but what about the notion? Like in the comments, DJ D's says, "I mean, God, she misspoke. With everything going on, that's all you got." Do you see where this is just simply her misspeaking? Or was she genuinely trying to convince the audience that Trump got people killed on January 6th?
I said that it could have been a slip of the tongue. Now, she should have been fact-checked.
Yeah.
So it could have been just something like when she was trying to articulate and trying to drive home her point, that she stopped and she said that some died instead of maybe like someone died or some people died, but it's specified the policeman.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
Right. So when Trump stated that debate was unfair to him because they fact-checked him and not her, does he not have a legitimate point?
Yes and no, because everything that Trump says, we've already heard what he said.
Mm-hmm.
We already know where he stands. We already hear at his rallies. So again, you already know what the questions are going to be. They're going to be specified to, what their points are or what their platform is.
Right.
Now, if I'm sitting here, if I know that you said this like at 2 or 3 rallies, and I know it's not the truth, and then you say it on the debate stage, my initial reaction is like, you're a motherfucking liar. And that's what Kamala was trying to say when she said something about this, and she was trying to, and I know she was trying to say that this motherfucker, but then she just stopped herself and be like,
yeah, she did. Yeah, she did say this. She said this, and she paused, and everybody knew what the fill in the blank would be. She was about to say something awful about him.
Because everybody know what the fill in the blank will always be. When you sit here and you know that somebody is misspeaking or telling lies, you like, I'm black, so my family, if somebody hears something, they be like, "This motherfucker right here." You know, I even have an aunt. My grandmother is 93 years old, and she was like, "You lying motherfucker." She would just say it straight out.
Yeah, yeah. And I totally can concur because I've had that said in front of me and said about me on more than one occasion, particularly by a few exes. You know, you say something to an ex and they know, look, I was hanging out with my boys. That's why I didn't call you this weekend. And yeah, you get that type of a response. So at the end of the day, though, between these two, who do you find to be more trustworthy?
I trust Kamala, and a lot of people don't like that, but that's who I trust. Because if you sit here and think about it, we can sit here, we can talk about, well, what Trump did in his 4 years in office.
Mm-hmm.
But he was saying about he has the best and brightest. You even said that before, about hiring the best and brightest. Yeah. Well, a lot of his cabinets, they either no longer, they either resign or he's quote unquote fired them. They're no longer with him. They're no longer supporting him. So who is he going to have to make up his cabinet? Now, a lot of people say that, the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, he's denounced that, he did this and he did that. But if you really just take a look at it, they're doing hiring on the Heritage Foundation. They're trying to hire people. They have like a little portal where you can go over there.
Yeah, but is there any solid evidence that Trump himself plans to implement Project 2025 on America?
I wouldn't know. All I know is he owes people. He owes somebody. And he really doesn't have a lot of people to back him. I know he has the support of a lot of American supporters, and they want him to be in office. But the genuine, quote-unquote, best and brightest to fill out his cabinet, they're not there. So who is he going to get it from? Where is he going to get it from? Well, and he may not be able to. He may not want to implement Project 25, but they're behind him for a reason. Mm. You have.
So you believe he has favors he has to repay, and one of those favors might be Project 2025.
He has too many of them, and then I've actually gone to the website because I do my research. And he's already implemented a hell of a lot of policies for them in the last administration. Mm. So a lot of things that he's implemented, I can look on the computer and I can probably send you the link to it. But they have every policy that he's adopted and he's rejected. And he's adopted maybe like 33 policies or something to that nature.
I love yeah. I got to move it on, but I would love to see what you got. Certainly send me what you got. I want to see that because we may bring that up on an upcoming show. But I got to move it on, DLO. Appreciate you coming in.
All right, anytime. Talk to you later.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And that's what we're asking. Which one of these candidates is the most trustworthy? Now, I played a clip that I wanted you to hear of Kamala Harris. Now, this is anything but what I would refer to as a reliable source. But I thought she did a poor job. And now this is Laura Ingraham doing her best to state what she believes is Kamala Harris's 5 biggest lies. I don't think she does a good job here at all, but I do want to cover this before we go on to the Trump side of things.
Harris is on her falsehoods. Of course, they fact-checked Trump 5 times compared to 0 for Kamala. So here are her 5 biggest lies. First, Kamala's favorite smear. Watch.
What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again.
Fact, Trump had nothing to do with
Now, I'm going to start off right off the bat. Now, I know a lot of folks on the right often do say exactly what Laura Ingraham is about to say here, is that Trump had nothing to do with Project 2025. Now, my last caller was saying, which I kind of agree with, there are so many links between Trump and Project 2025 that if this was done in reverse, I'm quite confident the right would say that a liberal has something to do with Project 2025 as well. But on its face, you cannot absolutely prove that Trump is going to implement Project 2025. You can't prove it, but the amount of links that Trump and people near Trump have to Project 2025 is enough that if this was done in reverse, the right would certainly suggest that a liberal candidate for president was going to do it. So I'll leave it at that. But I mean, and I see folks in the comments are stating his name is in it 300 times and things like that. It to me is going to be a hard sell for Trump to suggest he has absolutely nothing to do with it. The links are too numerous. But continuing on.
Project 2025 and what you heard last night was Trump's plan to make America safer and more prosperous, his ideas. Second, Kamala's phony defense of what are your constitutional rights.
This business about taking everyone's guns away, Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away, so stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Well, who's lying? Kamala in 2019 pledged to enact a mandatory gun buyback program, and just last month called for a ban on assault weapons. Third.
Now, before we go to the third one, the reason why I don't like this one, now she's going back to something Kamala Harris discussed from 2019. A year or so before that, Trump talked about taking away guns of mentally ill Americans before giving them due process, obviously the bump stock ban and things like that. And of course, she would not be suggesting that Trump is a threat to the Second Amendment. But Trump has quotes that are anti-2A right around the same time period that she is bringing up on Kamala Harris. But as I stated, she's not going to do that because she is here to defend Trump and go after Kamala Harris. So that second one, if she's going to bring it up, the obvious pushback is, because I have it on video, Trump stating that sometimes you got to take away guns first and then give somebody due process, which is a complete violation of the Constitution and that person's Second Amendment rights. Now, what she is stating, Kamala Harris said, is not anywhere near as bad as that, but that's not going to come up from Laura Ingraham. Real quick, Mobile RV says, you dig into that one, you dig into that on-air live look. Who approves the mines? Look where they've been placed, contracts already signed, altering weather devices used. No, I'm not digging it into any look. What I'm saying is that is how politics works. If you really wanted to discuss how many politicians have actively profited from laws, legislation, and things they've implemented, the list is going to be numerous. You're trying to tell me that Kamala Harris's husband has investments in mines that are in that region. Then I could bring up, Trump's daughter getting 26 Chinese patents, or Jared Kushner working with the Saudis and somehow getting $2 billion. This is just how politics works. I'm not defending any of it. I'm just simply saying, why now? All of a sudden, now it's an issue to discuss? This stuff is old as politics itself. Nancy Pelosi has done a lot of that. It's literally as old as politics itself. Certainly, we could also bring up the fact that the Secret Service had to tell former President Trump to stop letting dignitaries stay at his hotels and use his golf courses when he was charging a premium for them. Politicians make money off of the office. That's not something unique. I get that you want to bring it up to go after the husband of Kamala Harris, but it's not unique. It's not unique, Mobile RV. It is something very common in politics. You're damn right, Brian. Trump 2024. Prices are up. Crime is up. Morale is down. We need a change. MAGA 2024. According to the FBI, crime is down. That's not accurate. And I will say this before I continue on with the program. At the national level, at the presidential level, what can the president do to bring down crime? If there is a lot of crime on the streets of Detroit, what can Trump do to bring down crime? It's a liberal state with a liberal mayor. What can the president do to bring down crime? So if the president is promising to lower crime, that's the first question I push back and ask. By doing what? It's just like with the abortion laws. You wanted to hand everything to the states. So what are you going to do in those states that have violent cities? What are you going to do? Go in there and force something on them? The president can't bring down crime. Now, I see in the comments somebody stated, Patrick Bateman said the National Guard. So what is the National Guard going to do? Go into a violent city and override the town's police, the state police? That's not states' rights anymore. That's big government oversight. You're going to tell, let's say, the city of Chicago that undoubtedly comes up in these conversations. I don't like the crime in the city of Chicago. I don't believe the Governor Pritzker of Illinois, or the governor or the mayor of Chicago is doing their job. So I'm going to send the National Guard in there to take over? Is that what you're saying? Because you understand that a liberal president could come in and say the same thing about gun laws and things like that. You don't want to open that ball of wax up. You do not want to do that. You don't send military in against American citizens, says Moonchild. And I agree with that, which goes back to my original statement. The president is not going to be able to bring down crime. That's a pipe dream. This is a national security if the city is out of control. ATL, JPT Farms, thank you for the pumpkin. Before I go back to the bots, you're saying that the president can go in if you said that's a national security issue if the city is out of control. So you're telling me that Trump becomes president and he can just pick and choose and decide when a city is out of control and just override everybody and send a National Guard in. So once we get a liberal president, if they believe mass shootings are out of control, do they get the right to go in and take away everybody's guns? So I want to make sure we're looking at this from a fair and balanced perspective. It doesn't just work when it's going the way you want. What about when it's going the other way? If Trump does that, it opens up the path for a liberal president to do it. And you're not likely to like it at that point. So keep in mind, when you're setting these precedents, it can go the other way. Real quick, continuing on, I'll go to the box. We'll tackle the first two, and then we'll continue on with Laura Ingraham. But we will continue on with the program with David Johnson. Good afternoon, David. Ask him, which one of these candidates do you find to be more trustworthy? And by the way, David, do you agree with my viewer in suggesting that Trump could bring down crime in this country?
No, I don't believe any president could, because if they could, they would. The belief that a president can control things like crime, gas prices, food prices, then why doesn't every president that's up for re-election just lower all the prices to make everybody happy so they can get re-elected and jack them back up again? That's not how free market society works.
But it's interesting you saying it, because a lot of people do believe that if Trump gets elected, he is going to bring down the price of fuel and the price of food.
Yeah, they also believe the election was stolen, even though everyone told them it wasn't. There's no evidence to show that it was. So people are going to believe what they want to believe. Some people happen to believe things that are based on facts, data, and statistics, and other people believe what sounds good to them.
Yeah. And I want to say real quick in the comments, Chase, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate the support of the program. Thank you, Chase. So what I want to ask you, David, then, between these two individuals, I'm assuming because you brought up the election, I kind of know your answer, but between these two individuals, which one do you find to be the most trustworthy, or does that even matter? Maybe you just simply feel that either Trump or Kamala would be the best for this country, and you don't give a damn if they tell a few lies or not. But do you feel the trustworthiness of a presidential candidate is relevant?
I believe the trustworthiness is definitely relevant. I also am not naive enough to believe that politicians tell 100% of the truth 100% of the time. But if you use your critical thinking skills, you can look at what they say and see if what they're saying is based on any type of fact or reality. For example, to your previous point about the January 6th comment that she made and saying that police officers died. Yes, it is true. No police officers died that day. Brian Sicknick died the next day. as a result.
Now, I'm under the impression, before you continue, because I saw his name come up in the comments quite a lot. I'm under the impression that they ruled that him dying the next day did not have anything to do with January 6th.
Well, he died. He had 2 strokes. He suffered 2 strokes following being beaten and sprayed with bear spray and mace and all kind of things. So, sure, the cause of his death was a stroke, but you can't deny the fact that the stresses and the things that he was put under the previous day led to that. I think it's disingenuous to say that, well, he would have had 2 strokes on January 7th, whether he had been defending the Capitol or not. I think that's
well, no. But the thing about it is, as a police officer, is it possible, just the job itself being stressful, that he may have had a stroke, regardless, maybe just in the commission of doing this duty as a police officer from something else? I mean, put it this way: are we 100% certain that had January 6th not happened, he would not have had those strokes? Can we say that with 100% certainty?
Well, let me put it to you this way. If you got into a fight with the police officer, Tim, and that police officer was hospitalized and he died of 2 strokes the following day, would you not be charged with killing a police officer?
Yeah, but that don't mean it's a legitimate charge. I mean, we know how the cops can be sometimes. They're going to defend their own. But the notion that, like in this case, I'm looking at an article from NPR, which is certainly not a right-wing publication, that says Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick died of natural causes, medical examiner rules. They're not attributing his death to January 6th. But before you continue, because I know a lot of people believe he did die. Now, she said, and some officers died. Is there anybody else other than Brian Sicknick?
There were other officers that died as a result of suicide in the days immediately following January 6th.
Okay. And we know suicide among police officers is quite common.
Yeah. One could say that.
So it's kind of hard to suggest that what Kamala Harris said was true. It sounds more like what she said should have at least been fact-checked in some way or fashion or form, should it not?
I agree. I believe they could have pressed her on that, and I believe she could have simply said, well, police officers eventually died as a result of what they endured on January 6th.
Okay.
But again, you can't deny the fact that there were officers that did die. There were also protesters that did die. There was a woman that was trampled on the steps of the Capitol, a protester. There was another protester who also died of a stroke just outside the gates of the Capitol.
Well, yeah, but she didn't talk about citizens. She, if I'm correct, let me just make sure. If I'm correct, she clearly talked about cops. She didn't say, I mean, I don't want to, just like with Trump, I don't want to attribute, because like when Trump says he wants to get a police immunity, I get a lot of MAGA telling me, no, he means qualified. No, he's not saying qualified, he's saying immunity. She's not saying anything about citizen, I believe.
And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
Yeah, so she's not talking about people getting trampled or any of that. She's talking about cops.
No, correct. I brought up the point of the protesters because I don't think it's. I don't want to minimize the events of what happened on January 6th.
Neither do I.
They tried to make it sound like it was just a protest, and Trump said go peacefully, and I just want to highlight the fact that this was a very violent event that caused, in my opinion, the death of Officer Sicknick, which could have led to the suicides of 2 other officers, and also led to the deaths of people that were protesting in the event, on top of all the damage and everything else that was.
Yeah, in the way you worded it, in my opinion, if she had said exactly what you said, it was a very violent event that led, in my opinion, to the death of Officer Sicknick and, woman getting trampled. It would have been accurate. But the way she stated it, it's not accurate.
Right, but so to go back to your question of who do I trust more, when you look at statements that she made like that, that while there may be some aspect of it that you can consider to be false or erroneous, or maybe she misspoke, however you want to look at it. On the other side, you got the guy telling me that windmills cause cancer. If I buy an electric boat, I'm going to have to choose between being electrocuted or eaten by a shark, and all these other fantasies that he has that are not based on any sort of reality. They're just based on how he can get a reaction out of his base, how he can talk about things that they don't like, and just garner their blind, unadulterated support.
All right, fair enough. And we're going to certainly get into Trump. I mean, because, yeah, there's no denying that Trump has said a lot of things that are inaccurate and factually, patently false as well. So we will do that. David, appreciate you coming in, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. You have a good day, bro.
Anytime. And I know, certainly on my TikTok side, more of my audience on TikTok is left, more of my audience on YouTube leans right. My TikTok audience does not like me criticizing Kamala, but at the end of the day, what she said is not totally accurate. And she said this in an environment where her opponent was fact-checked. She should have been fact-checked. That's all I'm saying. Now, going back to Laura Ingraham, because we're asking which one of these candidates is most trustworthy. We will talk about Trump. Just for shits and giggles, we started with Kamala first, and some folks don't necessarily like that, but we will talk about Trump as well. But continuing on, you heard Laura Ingraham. She gave a couple of them. One saying that Kamala Harris is lying about not taking away everybody's guns, and Kamala Harris is lying about Trump not implementing Project 2025. Now, you've heard my opinion, and I'm sure some of you folks also have opinions on it. In the comments, ex-CAC, you said those were the facts. Elaborate. What are you saying? You're telling me police officers died on January 6th? That's not a fact.
Third, Kamala knowingly took Trump completely out of context.
Before she goes into that, I'm always hesitant, as you've seen with Kamala Harris, anytime somebody suggests that a candidate was taken out of context. In my humble opinion, the minute you start talking that way, it almost sounds like you're, I don't want to say defending a lie. We'll talk about it because there's sometimes it happens. I think defund the police and Mexico is going to pay for the wall were totally taken out of context. Those are two statements. Trump said, I'm going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for the wall. I think the way people were criticizing Trump, that was taken out of context. And defund the police is definitely taken out of context, used to hammer liberals with. The way the right suggests that the liberals want to basically have a society with no police in it at all is flat out wrong and taken out of context. So sometimes it does happen. But I want you to hear Laura Ingraham give this third, what she refers to as lie of Vice President Kamala Harris.
Knowingly took Trump completely out of context.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
Fact, Trump was referring to the auto industry that will, in fact, face a bloodbath if Kamala enacts her radical.
Now, there she is right. She is correct that Trump was talking about the auto industry, but because of the nature of Trump, there is a possibility that he is deliberately using these inflammatory, violent-sounding words for a, let's say, dog whistle or secondary cause. But he was indeed discussing the auto industry when he said that. Going back to the box, somebody in the comments said, you watch Fox too much. Make Me King 1. Well, I watched the speech. He actually said it in Make Me King. You're saying I watch Fox News too much, but I actually did watch the speech that Trump made that statement in. And he was talking about the auto industry. He was indeed doing that. But going back to the box, we'll continue on with the program. I watch Fox too much. Wow. Pat Carlson, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Is it indeed a case of yours truly tuning into Fox too much? Oh, that's Frank. Frank Nitty. Good afternoon. Frank, are you there? Frank, are you there?
$30 right now.
Okay, apparently he's involved in a different conversation, so we will move it on. And we'll go to Pat Carlson as we originally implemented. Good afternoon, Pat.
Hello. All right, you said that, and somebody else popped up.
Oh, okay. So,
Okay.
what am I getting wrong?
Go ahead.
What am I getting wrong?
All right, so you're getting a lot wrong.
Okay.
First of all, when it comes to politicians, one thing you can believe: if their lips are moving, they're lying. I don't
Okay.
care who it is.
Shout out to Megan Trainor. Okay, keep going.
Right. Now, when you're talking about who would I trust more, Kamala, or Trump?
Right.
Kamala, and the reason why is, from what I understand and from what I've heard and everything, Trump has lied more during his presidency than any president in our history. Any
Damn.
president.
Wow. Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Now I don't disagree. I do believe that's those stats on Trump are probably accurate. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say this: in terms of words spoken, he probably also has done that more than any president in our history as well, because he literally never stopped holding rallies. So fact is, if you speak more by far than someone else, you're probably going to say things that are not true more than anybody else. Because as you said, if a politician's lips are moving, there's inaccuracies coming out, and his lips are always moving.
And he's always lying. Every time he opens his mouth, he's lying. I mean, the glass can be half full, and he'll sit there and argue with you and tell you it's half empty, which both are true, per se. But, the fact that all right. And then let's go to your question about Kamala and talking about the deaths.
Yes.
Now, she did not specifically say those officers died on January.
No, wait, come on. I can't let you. Hold on, Pat.
Hear me out.
I can't let you get away with it. Go ahead. I'll hear you out, and then we're going to listen to the clip again.
Okay. So, what my son was involved in an auto accident. 7 days before his 19th birthday, he passed away. Or 4 days before his 19th birthday, passed away 7 days after his birthday. That auto accident killed him. He may not have died for, 11 days after that accident, but that accident is what killed him. Now, what Kamala said is that a lot of people were hurt on that day. But then she did not, it's playing a word game there. She didn't specifically say
she's playing
that
a word game
on that day, but she did not specifically say that, it was actually after. It's a word game which all politicians use.
You're literally you're turning into MAGA as we speak. That sounds like an excuse to.
No. Don't put me down that road there.
That sounds like some type of twisted defense MAGA might use for former President Trump. I want you to hear now, since what you're saying there, we're going to listen to it again briefly, because I'm not hearing what you're hearing, Pat. I hear something different, but we'll listen to it.
Today, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
She says, on that day. What does that mean?
Yeah. She said on that day, 140 were injured.
And?
Not specific, and some died.
But it's not.
You're playing a word game. But that's neither, like I said, the fact that they may not have died on that day, like I said with my son, they may not have died on that day, but the injuries.
That ain't what she said. Pat, if I say if I say I'm going to go have some steak and mashed potatoes, that means I'm going to have steak. That doesn't mean tomorrow I'm going to have mashed potatoes. That means I'm eating. She said, and. She said on that day something happened, and something else happened. It happened on that day, and she's patently false. What she said is not true.
And like I said, I would agree with you that they did not happen on that day.
All right.
And you got to also take into consideration that she's in the middle of a debate. You know, she's thinking on her feet the same way as Trump is thinking on his feet. Well, if he could think. Did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
They're thinking on their feet, you know. They don't always, you know, and this is where I got to give a politician a little bit of credit. But once again, and I'm a firm believer that, you know, if a politician's lips are moving, they're lying. You know, and it's like people talking about Trump, you know, or even, well, let's go with Biden, saying Biden should do more for the relief on the hurricane victims. Well, the fact of the matter is, when you enter that office, they don't hand you a checkbook and say, all right, here's a checkbook of our nation's money or assets. You have a right to write any check you want. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Congress and Senate does that. But yet people seem to think that the president has that power, which he doesn't.
Okay. Now, here's one that kind of defends what you're saying. In the comments, and I'm just amazed at these folks, because to me they sounded like MAGA, like I told you, but Edwin Gull in the comments says, if I ended a sentence with, and some of them died, I'm not specifying the date. This is hilarious. That's like saying on that day, we went to a movie and had dinner. And somebody's trying to suggest, well, the dinner could have been a different day. It clearly means all of this stuff happened on the same day. But I'm amazed that Edwin is in the comments trying to say that Ann is in reference to a whole nother day. She literally started the sentence out with on that day. And somebody telling me by the end of the sentence, she's discussing another day in the future. I don't know where to go with that.
Well, I'll tell you another thing. All Americans should be scared shitless right now with what the Supreme Court has done. By them doing the presidential immunity, do you realize that Biden could literally, come the election, overturn the entire election and say it was a presidential, if Trump won, Biden could turn around and say, no, we're doing away with the election because it's against the good of the people of the United States.
I understand your premise, but I gotta disagree with you from this point. The Supreme Court gave Trump immunity, but they did not define it. And that's what Sotomayor was really going apeshit about, is they didn't define it. That's why she said Trump could literally do anything. But then folks like yourself were saying, well, then that opened up a porthole where Biden could go through and do the same thing. Well, here's why I disagree. Because the Supreme Court did not define the immunity other than saying, you know, whatever's in commission of the office of president, but they didn't define what it is. If Biden tries to go through the same porthole that they left open for Trump, because they didn't originally define it when Trump went through, if Biden goes through, there would be plenty of people on the right that would challenge it, and then they would likely define it in a way that Biden is not allowed to go through. So that's what I'm saying, is I don't think it would work for Biden. The fact that they didn't define it left it open for them to define it when the wrong person tries to use it.
Yeah, but you see, the fact of the matter is, they did that deliberately for Trump, to help Trump out. Yeah. Now, if Trump gets into office, there are, you know, once again, this world, the United States is in a shit show. No other president that I know of has said on day one, I want to be a dictator. All right, so he's got the Supreme Court in his pocket.
Yeah.
So if he gets in office, what's to stop him from doing anything? Anything, literally.
I can't argue with you on that. And I'm generally able to play devil's advocate, but right now, the way the system is set up with Trump having immunity and a large portion of the country not willing to really believe anything Trump could do wrong, yeah, he is in a great position to kind of be, a free for all. Because I've said this before in the program, because the right believes that just about all of our mechanisms are out to get Trump. They're not going. And this is what I often say: if Trump did something wrong, I'm not saying he did, but let's say Trump did something wrong for shits and giggles. Who could tell MAGA that he did something wrong and they would actually believe it? Let's say he genuinely committed a violent felony or done something really wrong. There's no one that could tell MAGA and they would believe it. So he is in a good position because a large portion of the country is not going to believe anything that is negative about him.
Well, it's just like Trump said. He could go down there. What was it on? Not
Fifth Avenue.
Or whatever,
Fifth Avenue.
Shoot and kill somebody and get away with it.
Yeah.
That's MAGA for you. They would see him shoot and kill somebody and say, "Oh, it wasn't him. It was an imposter."
All right, shout out to Shaggy. I do love that song. It wasn't me. I gotta move it on, Pat. Thank you for coming through.
Hey, one more thing.
Sure.
All right, so you were asking about videos about eating dogs and cats. I got a great idea. I'll go there. I will butcher a rabbit, and then I'll find a roadkill dog or cat. I'll butcher that, and I'll take that meat. We'll put it on a skewer, and we'll cook it up. Nobody will be able to tell whether it's a dog, a cat, or a rabbit.
I'm surprised that has not been done yet. That might be some of the videos already floating around as people eating things where people can't tell what it is. That might already be out there, but that's fucking gross, Pat. I gotta move on. That's fucking gross. Thank you for coming through, man. You crazy. You're way too crazy for this program. I gotta go. All right, moving on with the program. Take a rabbit and butcher it up, roadkill. And by the way, there are people, because folks say that the Haitians have this crazy-ass culture of eating animals. There are Americans that do eat roadkill. You see, what is it, the Learning Channel, TLC, they used to have a show about people doing wild things, and or I think like cheapskates, people who live exceptionally cheap lives, and there were people on there that were eating roadkill. So, does that mean all white people eat roadkill? Of course not. But if there was a Haitian doing it, people would say, well, that shows it's part of their culture. You got to pay attention to what you're watching, folks. Real quick in the comments, Miran, thank you for the super chat, says your Bears did pretty good the other night. Well, they were supposed to win that game, though. They were supposed, and they did very well. That was a pretty easy victory. I certainly watched that, enjoyed Caleb. But yeah, thank you for that super chat. Tim, you eat some cat, says T-Mac. Stop giving out my secrets. Tim, no, almost time for dinner. I'm not going to eat any cat. I could go a lot of other places with that. Anyway, looking at the comments, he literally said a hurricane hit Georgia because he didn't want to hit Minnie's wrong using a Sharpie. It never hit Georgia. That is true. So we're going to continue on asking that question. Which one of these candidates do you believe is the most trustworthy? Or as I stated earlier in the program, if you believe the candidate has the right vision for America, does being trustworthy even concern you at all? Now, we talked about Kamala Harris. We will continue on with that. But of course, bringing up Trump is also part of the program. And this is a recent quote from the former president.
She was born out. She had a little honeymoon period, but people are now finding out she's not a smart person. Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. Yeah. She was born that way.
Now, I'm just going to start out by right off by saying, obviously, former President Trump does not have any way to prove that Vice President Kamala Harris was diagnosed with a mental illness upon birth. So it is 100% certain that he is lying here in suggesting that she was born that way. He has nothing to prove that he can show when she was 2 years old, here's the medicine she was on, or here's the doctor's report, physician's report, nothing. So this is a clear-cut case of Trump just telling a flat-out lie. I mean, there's no other way to word this. This is just a flat-out lie. You don't need proof. It's obvious, says Laser 101. No, You're saying that it's obvious Kamala Harris has a mental illness. Well, even if you want to suggest something like that, you're suggesting that it's obvious she's mentally ill now at the age of 60. Show me something that shows she was mentally ill when she was 1. You can't. You don't have any evidence of that. So what Trump did is a lie, and it's impossible for you to prove that because there's no footage. You don't have any evidence at all to prove that she was born mentally ill. It's just a flat out lie. Looking in the comments, what happened to common sense in the average American? Well, it depends on what your definition of common sense is. If you are a conservative or a traditionalist, the way progressives live is not going to be common sense to you because you may believe the country should be the way the founding fathers intended. So progressives tend to evolve. So progressives are always going to seem as though they lack common sense to you. DJ Julio, yeah. Speaking of which, let's make it happen. Good afternoon, better yet, good evening. Welcome to the program, DJ Julio. Now we're talking about trustworthiness. Julio is MAGA, just the guy to have on.
Play that video again.
Which one?
The one that you just played. It sounded like there was a gap in the audio.
There is a gap in the audio, a gap between insults, but I'll play it again. It's only a few seconds long.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. Yeah. She was born that way. She had a little honeymoon period, but people are now...
Yeah, it's just a gap in between two different insults, two different lies he told. What did he get? So what are you saying? You believe she was born mentally ill?
Man, come on, he's just busting her chops. Come on.
What is the difference between busting?
Plain bully.
Okay, what is the difference between busting chops and telling a lie?
One is intentional.
You're way away from the mic. I can't hear you.
It might be my earpiece is acting up lately.
Okay, I can hear you better now.
How's that?
Yeah, better.
One is just talking shit to somebody, talking shit about somebody.
Is the shit true?
It's a known fact that it's not true.
Okay,
That's
so
what
it's
I'm trying to say.
so it's a lie then.
He's just poking jabs. No, a lie is saying that she's something and believing that she is something.
Okay, let me run a. Okay, you now you're the MAGA's coming out of you. You're making up these reasons for why it's not a lie, but I want you to hear this one as well and give me your opinion.
And this country is not ready for a communist and hopefully never will be, because that doesn't work. Kamala talks about all these things that she's going to do, but she's been here. Think of it. She's been here for almost 4 years and she's not done anything. I will do this. I will do that. I will do that. What the hell? She could do them today. You know?
She's vice president. What is he saying she could do today as vice president?
A vice president can push policy.
Push policy. Can she pass policy? Can she write laws? Can she officially do anything other than push policy?
No, but that's at least something towards that effect.
Okay, but in other words,
she could have been working on or standing on or campaigning on for the last 3.5, 4 years, and she's done none of it. She's talked the exact opposite for the last 3.5, 4.5 years. Or 4 years. That's what he's talking about. Come on, Sam.
No. How do you know that behind the scenes she wasn't trying to push some of this stuff with Biden and he was rejecting her? Just like with Trump, you got to realize that Mike Pence was countering Trump on a host of shit and he just wasn't listening. How do you know she wasn't doing that?
Because she doesn't talk that. The last 3.5, I just said it. Last 3.5 years, she has talked the exact opposite.
Well, Mike Pence wasn't openly critical of Trump either. But you know behind the scenes, based on what happened, he clearly wasn't agreeing with him.
No, I'm talking about how she's campaigning a certain direction, whereas when she was running for president, she was campaigning the exact opposite.
But I'm still asking you, now you're talking about pushing, which just simply means you favor something. Why is he saying she could have done so much? Like defending the border. The vice president doesn't pass border laws. Remember, they already tried to.
Borders are.
Huh?
She's the border czar.
Then why the hell did they try to, if she's the border czar, why the hell did they try to impeach, I can't think of the guy's name right now, but they impeached somebody for the border.
Well, I guess somebody else takes the fall, falling on the king's sword, I guess is what you would say, huh?
I didn't hear nothing about Kamala Harris. Mayorkas, that's Jeff Mayorkas. I didn't hear nothing about Kamala Harris being a border czar, failing at the border or anything until she tried to run for president. 2 years ago, nobody was calling Kamala Harris the border czar. That did not become a major issue until she tried to run for president. They were blaming Biden and Mayorkas for the border. All of a sudden, Kamala Harris ran, and suddenly she was the one responsible for the border.
Exactly.
So it's not true then.
I didn't say that. I said that nobody had called her that before.
No, but if she was responsible for the border, and the border was being handled so miserably, why weren't they criticizing her 2 or 3 years ago?
Let's find out. Use that Google and let's Google who is responsible for the border. Is the vice president responsible for the border?
The vice president does not control any of the branches of government. The vice president's job is to be there just in case something happens to the commander in chief. You don't ever. I mean, think about how many laws did Mike Pence put into play when he was vice president.
Tim, she was appointed to oversee the border.
Okay, well, overseeing and actually doing are two different things. It's almost like you're accrediting a security guard for the failure of a company because he overseen it at night. That's not his job to do anything else but oversee it.
If his job was to ensure security and the security was not good, yes, he would be to blame, as should she.
Okay, so if her job is to oversee it, whose job is it to implement laws?
Whoever she tells to.
Okay, so is there any possibility that maybe she told them to do it and they didn't listen?
I think what he got in trouble for is doing the exact opposite. She wanted to open the border more, and he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're. And by the way, they're also. Go ahead.
I'd have to look at that. I'd have to listen to the impeachment against Mayorkas. I didn't even. I guess that's news to me.
Okay. In the comments, Thick really wants me to ask you, why is he lying about the aid to North Carolina? Trump is suggesting that the Biden administration is only helping out Democratic victims of the hurricane. Why is he saying that?
I haven't heard that.
Really? Okay. No. If you did hear it, would you have any opinion on that?
I would be like, well, show me where that's the case, and then it can be founded.
Well, you already know when it comes to Trump, most of the stuff
I unplugged for the weekend. I went camping, took my kids and my grandkids and everybody out camping this weekend, so I haven't been plugged in.
Well, but you already know when it comes to Trump, most of the things he says, you're never going to see any actual evidence. I mean, the eating of dogs and cats, for instance, is a perfect example. He's calling Kamala Harris a communist. Do you believe that's true?
I would not want a cop running the country, no.
No, a communist. Do you see Kamala?
Same thing.
Explain.
Well, because cops, you gotta have to listen to what they're saying, do what you're told, and that's the basic rule of a communist.
You do realize
you have no say.
No, you do have a lot of say against police officers. That's why a lot of them get fired and have to pay huge settlements. You're not going to do that in Russia against a communist. You're really saying the police and the communists are the same?
I think if she is our best case scenario for a communist country, yes, based on her background.
And what is she doing to lead you to believe that she would turn America into China or Russia? Or Vietnam.
That's kind of what I'm fearful of with her, yeah.
But what are you basing that on?
Just the way that she handled the crime bill. I mean, not the crime bill, but the crime in her country or her city. The way that she handles herself. I mean, any prosecutor is there to prove you did it, prove you're wrong, make you stand and face justice.
You're judging.
Who do I want that as a president for?
You're judging Kamala Harris based on what she may have done in California as much as 30 years ago?
Not just that, but based on the lack of anything that she's done positive since then. Well, I haven't read anything.
No. I asked you, what has she done to lead you to believe she would be leading America like a communist? And you brought up her as an attorney general and a district attorney some 30 plus years ago.
That's just one reason.
Give me some recent.
Do anything in the Senate.
That's okay. So if you do nothing in the Senate, that means you're a communist?
No. I'm not that. You're taking everything that I'm saying and making.
I'm asking you a clear.
There's several different reasons.
No, I'm asking you a clear question. He stated she's a communist. You suggested that she would be the one that would lead us most likely down that path. I'm asking you, give me things she has done to lead you to believe she would take us on a path towards communism. And you're bringing up 30 years ago. Give me something more recent.
That's about it.
Okay. So you want us to hold Trump accountable for things he did 30 years ago, like identifying as a Democrat and all of that stuff? Being against assault weapons?
Well, I can give a guy credit when credit is due. Yeah, he did a good thing and changed his mind and changed his ways.
Any chance Kamala Harris changed her mind and changed her ways?
No, she got stuck in those Diddy parties and
oh my God. You said she got stuck in Diddy parties?
Yeah, after she got the social media to ban everything that we want to say is true.
I'm not hearing anything about communism, Julio. You think P. Diddy was preaching communism at those parties?
No, we're past that already.
No, we're not. You have never clarified it. We're past it because you don't want to talk about it.
Yes, I said yes. I'm judging her on that fact. I don't have anything new about her. No,
it don't sound like you have anything at all today, Julio.
Blame the dispensary.
Is it it's okay to admit the communism claim was bullshit. Just like you admitted he was busting her balls on her being born mentally ill. You can say that on the communist thing as well.
Yeah, well, I can, but I don't. I've said from the beginning of her running that having an ex-AG, an ex-state's attorney, somebody.
I'm not hearing communism. I'm just not hearing it. Nothing you're presenting. Trump says she is a communist. You said that she's heading that direction and could give us a communist country, but neither you nor Trump is presenting anything to show what that is based on.
No, we're going to let her prove that. I'm ready.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Can you close the door?
So you said you're going to let her prove that. So where's it coming from right now?
Just in defense of Trump. I don't have any real reasons to think that she's going to be a communist. You've already said that. I didn't want to admit it.
All right, it sounds like you busy over there. I'm going to move it on. It sounds like you busy.
I'm just getting ready to go to my niece's volleyball game, so I'm multitasking talking with you.
All right, fair enough.
So what are you talking about?
Huh?
Besides communism and Kamala.
What
are you talking about besides communism and Kamala?
We were just asking which one of these candidates is more trustworthy, and it sounds like you making it clear that Kamala Harris is far more trustworthy than somebody who's throwing around the word communist.
No, I think she's far less trustworthy.
You just
and that goes back back again to her being the final say on a lot of the bad bills that we've had passed, and she hasn't done a good job, and she hasn't done shit. So wait, but Julio, she hasn't done shit.
Not doing shit and not being trustworthy are two different things. You can be ineffective but very trustworthy. Like, let's say President Carter was known to be ineffective. He's not known to be a liar, though. So it's a difference between being ineffective and being a liar. Kamala Harris, you say she's not trustworthy. What is that based on?
The things that she flip-flops on. I know Trump has his flip-flop moments too. But the way that that she flips, and what she's flipping about, the oil, the drilling, the Second Amendment, I mean, those are some things not to take lightly. And
what about the
you can flip from saying you're against it to you're for it because you realize that the only way you're going to make it in America is if you're for oil, if you're for your amendments, all of them, not just the second. And that's a case that she jumped and said, okay, yeah, let's ride that train because it's working for Donald Trump.
So what about the claim that
I'm not driving, I'm just in my car right now.
Well, I'll move it on in a minute, but what about the claim that people are eating cats and dogs? Do you credit Trump for lying for that, or do you believe that's true?
I believe it's absolutely possible.
That ain't what I asked you.
Absolutely.
Basically, why do you believe it's possible? Why do you beve it's possible?
Well, because if it's part of the Haitian culture, then
it's not part of the Haitian culture. It's not part of their culture. There's no evidence of that even. There's no evidence that eating cats and dogs is part of the Haitian culture. That's made up too.
Did you grab that one that was in the tube still?
All right. I'm moving on, man. You go ahead and do your thing, man. I'm moving on.
All
right. And by the way, folks, there is no evidence to that. People keep saying that to defend. There is no evidence that, like I've mentioned before in the program, we've had Haitian migrants in this country for just about every listener out here. Your entire life, there's been Haitian migrants in this country. I had on screen the other day the top 10 states where Haitians are. Most of them are in Florida. There's like 400. I think like 500,000 Haitians live in the state of Florida alone. There was never any claim that they were eating cats and dogs before Trump said that a few weeks ago. There's been Haitian migrants. Little Haiti is a town. They're in the New York area pretty heavy. I think there's a few 100,000 of them in the state of New York. They were never known for that. That's not their culture to eat cats and dogs. So people are trying to defend Trump any way they can, but that is flat out false. Looking in the comments on YouTube, it's all about the impact that the lies have. I agree with that, William Howard. He exaggerates about himself, annoying but not evil. Harris will tell you you're fine as you are on fire. Well, some of that is opinionated. I agree with you, William Howard on YouTube. Thank you for the super chat. I agree with you in regards to saying lies have certain impact. But you say Trump's lies are only that he exaggerates about himself, whereas you believe that Kamala Harris, you're saying his lies that he exaggerates about himself, they're annoying but not evil. But you're saying that Kamala Harris would tell you you're fine while you're on fire. Now, you got to understand, Trump's claim that he won the election by a landslide leading to what took place on January 6th, that ain't just an exaggeration. And that ain't just annoying. That set the Capitol building on fire. So I kind of disagree with you there. Trump tells some lies. The same with Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs. That town has had a lot of problems since he said that. So that ain't annoying or an exaggeration. That's something that has caused some people some serious harm. So I think you may be upscaling issues from Kamala Harris while downplaying things that Trump says. I don't believe it's annoying or an exaggeration to suggest that Mexicans are mostly rapists and murderers. I mean, some of the stuff he's saying can really get people hurt. William Howard says she was the tiebreaker for 33 votes in the Senate. That is true, and she don't bring that up that much, which kind of speaks some volumes. She don't bring all of those tie-breaking votes up. Mowgli, we will raise money for Julio to a civics class. You're suggesting my last caller needs a civics lesson. Wow. All right, continuing on with the program real quick. She even made jokes when the media asked her why hasn't she been to the border, and answered by saying that she hadn't been to Europe either. That is true. That is true. I don't give Kamala Harris high marks on the border, but I disagree with the notion that she could have done something about it. Just like Melania Trump went down to the border. Remember, she had on the big jacket with the white letters that said, "I don't care, do you?" Kamala Harris, in my opinion, did not have much more power to do anything about the border than Melania Trump, really. Vice president doesn't pass laws. She could go down to the border and make suggestions to the vice president, kind of like Melania Trump could have did this, or to the president. Melania Trump could have did the same thing to President Trump. She could have made suggestions as first lady, but they don't actually sign and write laws. BS2 tends to disagree, says yes, she does. Does she have to say it 33 times? She's been to the border, so what? Yes, she does. Does she have to say it 33 times? She's been to the border, so what? Well, her response, just like I said, Melania Trump's, her response was not favorable. But she's not responsible for the successes or failures at the border, is what I'm saying. She's not, as vice president, she's not responsible for the successes and failures. Absolutely, and I bet you his wife made suggestions to that doesn't make it wrong. At least she went. I don't give credit for that. He will work for all. I like the name. I don't give Melania Trump any credit. To go down to the border where you're supposed to be checking on the condition of children being separated from families and you wear a big jacket that has a word "I don't care" on the back of it. That ain't no different than Kamala saying that there's no problem at the border. That's about as nonchalant or non-caring as you can get. So, yeah, Melania Trump, although she's just a first lady, she would get failing marks on that. I mean, that's just cruel to go down there and say something like that. If I'd rather she had not win. Why would you go check on something while wearing a big ass? I mean, in the way the jacket was designed, she clearly wanted people to know the message. Why even go? It made no sense for her to even do it. Just don't go. Going back to the box. Yeah, Melania Trump, what she did was terrible in my opinion. Continuing on with the Texas. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Texas. It was a Trump quote. Did you see the outfit she wore though? Texas, good evening.
How's it going?
It's going good. What am I getting wrong on this? Now we're talking about the candidates being trustworthy or not. Now I pointed out Kamala Harris has not been honest, and a lot of folks did not like what I had to say because they believe Trump is far more dishonest. But in regards to you yourself, which one of these candidates do you find to be more trustworthy?
I'm just confused. Are we taking part in a junior high class president election, or is this a national federal president election?
Let's stick with national. Let's hope it's national.
Okay, so why is trustworthy important? Because I've never met a politician be trustworthy.
And that's one of the original questions I asked. I said that if the candidate can lead this country down the right path, does it matter if they're trustworthy or not? So what you're saying is neither Kamala Harris nor Trump are trustworthy.
No, once you're a politician, I'm not going to trust you as far as I can throw you.
So who are you likely to vote for in this campaign?
Well, I wasn't going to vote for either of them, but the guy I was going to vote for isn't on the ballot here. So
who was it?
For Trump for the first time.
Who was the guy? Was it RFK?
RFK.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why were you going to vote for RFK?
Because I liked where he came from with, the chemicals and preservatives, all these things that we're using to produce our food that's unhealthy for us. Not just creating an obesity problem in the United States, but, health problems like cancer.
What do you mean by chemicals? You mean him talking about the children, bad things in food and things like that?
Yeah, like the pesticides we're using.
Right, but the reason why I asked you who you're going to vote for, if you're stating that a politician cannot be trustworthy, why did you trust RFK? Why would you going to vote for him? I mean, at the end of the day, you're saying that he can't be trusted.
Right, but you have to know that the largest platform that they're going to run on, that's going to be their agenda. That's what they're going to try to push. There's going to be things that they say just to gain votes, just to push.
And how do you know? Agenda. How do you know what they're saying just to gain votes and what they're saying that they really mean?
I mean, you just got to pay enough attention to politics. I've watched it for over 30 years. I mean, it's nothing. Sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you get it right. Like had a real dear friend of mine 8 years ago or whatever. He's from Mexico, from the state of Michoacan. A citizen here now. Mm-hmm. And he was mad that Trump was saying he was going to build a wall. And I was telling him, it's never going to happen. Trump's saying he's going to get a wall and he's going to get so-and-so to pay for it just to gain more votes. I knew it wasn't going to happen. It's too unrealistic. You're not going to get it passed through the Congress. And if you do, you weren't going to get it passed through the Senate. They're going to fight over funding. Just like on the left, when a lot of them talk about the new Green Deal, you're not ever going to get that whole new Green Deal passed. It's never going to happen. But it gets those people in those outlying areas and those small niches to come in and say, yeah, I support you, because that's
so what's making you pick, now that it's whittled down to Trump versus Kamala, what's making you pick Trump likely over Kamala?
Well, because RFK giving him his support, and will hopefully be on his cabinet, and will hopefully be able to do what is most important to him, right? Which is getting into why the FDA is having more medicines on the market for us that are black labeled, and they don't show that. Like
why does you know what's baffling me? Why does what you are saying make sense to you? And I'm gonna tell you what. Trump is for getting rid of three-letter organizations, which would be necessary for someone like RFK to control different toxins that are in our food, or sugar or salt too much being in children's food. That's going to be controlled by the FDA or the CDC or the World Health. I mean, Trump is talking about getting rid of those organizations. Trump is for the free market, not the expansion of government. And for what RFK is suggesting, you need more government oversight. So for RFK to join,
you just missed what I said.
Huh?
You just missed what I said. No, it's sounding that RFK is totally against the FDA and is showing why we shouldn't trust the FDA.
How is he going to? But the thing about it is, if you're going to complain about toxins in our foods, the FDA is the organization you go to get something done.
Right. It should be, right? That's what RFK is talking about. So why are these pesticides that are causing cancers and stuff still being approved to be used on crops by the FDA, Tim? So there's obviously something wrong there. It's not working.
Well,
right? We don't need this stuff on our food. You're like missing the whole point.
No. That's
trying to spin it into something it's not. When if you actually listen to RFK Jr., you would know that he's saying the FDA is not a working part of the government. It is failing us. It is failing our kids. It is failing our health.
If you get rid of the pesticides that you claim that are harmful, then what happens to the crops? There's a reason why they're using pesticides. You want to have a healthy mix. You want a pesticide that is not necessarily lethal to humans, but you need to control the pest.
Why are we the only country that uses these pesticides on crops and all the other countries don't, Tim?
You're telling me there's no other country.
That's why we have bans against our crops in Europe. I mean, you want to sit here and boast about how great Europe is when it comes to free healthcare and how we should follow them and implement that into our nation, right? But they're wrong when it comes to pesticides.
Well, here's the issue, though. You're telling me that Europe doesn't put any pesticides on their crops at all?
Did I say that? I said they use different pesticides.
Okay, well, there's going to be a reason why they're using something different. We need to go into that as opposed to just automatically assuming they have the best idea.
The ones we're using are poisoning our children and ourselves.
Okay, so what?
Cancer-causing agents in them. They're making us more insulin dependent. I mean, it's common sense, but we're in this broken machine because we've given this government regulation to this three-letter group that is completely in for just lobbyist money.
And you think RFK was going to change that?
Oh, hell yeah. That was his biggest platform.
Yeah. You think RFK... I mean, it's the same thing Trump talked about, draining the swamp and exposing the swamp. Look how that worked out, and Trump got way more support than RFK, and he didn't do it. You're not going to get rid of lobbying.
I would rather push for someone like that than try to take some false moral high ground and saying, hey, I'm going to vote for the person that's the most trustworthy, knowing that every politician is going to lie to you. So I'm going to go for someone who's going to be against the status quo, because if you think the status quo is working, not just for our economic benefits, but our health benefits, then live in your state of delusion. Take that false moral high ground of, oh, I'm not going to vote for a rapist or whatever label y'all want to put on him this week. Right?
Oh, I'm not going to vote for a rapist. Like that's some kind of, like that ain't that important. I'm not going to vote for a rapist. You do realize it's pretty serious, right?
Well, you do realize it wasn't in a criminal court, right? So he was never criminally charged with that. So it's a civil. And if you don't know the difference between criminal and civil court, then you're really just laughing at yourself, Tim, and it's really sad. Because civil is something totally different than criminal. You cannot call someone something. Did we call OJ a murderer?
Yeah, they did call. The only reason Trump...
But was he a murderer, Tim? Did he go to prison for murder?
That doesn't mean he didn't commit the murder.
He was found as a murderer in civil court. not in criminal court. So he wasn't called a murderer by everybody.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to get too deep in OJ, but the only reason Trump was not a convicted rapist in criminal court is it didn't happen soon enough. The case didn't come to court soon enough.
No, they didn't have the evidence.
Okay.
If they had evidence, they could have still pursued criminal charges against him.
Okay.
Lack of evidence.
All
Why
right.
it went to civil court on.
And I'm assuming that
against your agenda, right?
and I'm assuming the things that he actually was convicted of, you don't buy into those either, right?
No, I imagine he's done some crooked ass shit. Again, what politician hasn't?
Okay.
Why is this all of a sudden the biggest thing? Oh, I'm going for the most trustworthy, moral person because that's who's going to do right by us. They haven't ever done that. Why am I going to fall for that load of crap?
So
why are we all of a sudden worried about that?
So because you believe all politicians do crooked shit, we should just ignore the crooked things that Trump is being convicted of?
I'm saying we should catch him when we can. We should get him for whatever we can. But they've got it all rigged where they're going to get away with it most of the time anyways. I mean, just like Trump would say, oh, I'm going to put Hillary in jail. No, you're not. When he said that and people cheered and thought that was the greatest thing, I was like, that's a stupid. Nothing's going to happen to Hillary Clinton. Are you kidding me? And did anything happen to her? No.
So how do you feel about him saying he won the 2020 election by a landslide? Is that something all politicians do?
Ones that can't lose. I mean, we know that man cannot accept the loss, right? I mean, how many has he really taken in his life?
Yeah.
You gotta look at it that way.
So you don't you don't believe he won by a landslide, as he's saying?
No, he lost that election.
Okay. So how do you feel? So how do you feel knowing that, in your opinion, he did not win? He lost the election. Even though he lost, he still held a protest on January 6th with everybody yelling "Stop the steal" of something that was not stolen. He's still going around the country, still saying that he won the election. By the way, the RFK that you supported, does RFK buy into the notion that he won?
Man, I don't look at it. I never looked at RFK to see if he said anything about that. I think he might lean a little ways towards that now, the way the Democratic Party pushed him out of the primaries. He had to run independent, and he's talked about all the millions of dollars they've tied them up in their funding in lawsuits and stuff to keep him off the primaries and stuff. I mean, the Democratic Party has gone after him hard, and he talks about that, and that's what's more important to me.
He's not a Democrat. I don't.
What's happening now versus 4 years ago.
I don't get that. When Trump ran in 2020 for re-election, there were 4 people that wanted to run against Trump, and the Republican Party pushed them off too. You never even heard of them. I mean, RFK is not a Democrat.
And really, if you want to talk about that, why didn't they get it on there? Because they didn't get enough signatures to get on their state primaries. No. The Republicans didn't hold them out. That's just what's set in stone, right? I mean, they didn't get enough.
Yeah, they actually, you and I disagree on that. They actually held them out. You and I disagree on that. But what I'm saying is, RFK is not the reason the Democrats didn't embrace RFK is they don't see him as a Democrat. Same way with Bernie Sanders. No. These guys are not Democrats.
The Democrats didn't embrace RFK because they didn't want him in the running for anything. That's not the man that they could do to push their agenda, because his is different, right?
Well,
that's why.
Yeah, no.
You're comparing Trump's primaries in 2020 to this one now. So against RFK. So those 4, let's say that they didn't push those out. Would those 4 really have made a difference for Trump getting the nomination in 2020?
Wait, say that again.
Those 4 states, those 4 people wanting to run against Trump for nomination on the primary in 2020, would they have made a difference in the overall?
That I can't say. I don't know.
4 states wouldn't, Tim. No, not at all.
Well, that's your opinion. But that's your opinion.
We know what you need to get the nomination, and you're not going to get that off of one state, or even if one guy carried those 4 himself, which he couldn't.
But I think you said it properly when you said the Democrats didn't take RFK because he had a different agenda. The Democrats are running on a woman having a right to choose. They're running on, tuition forgiveness and student loan debt and things. No. RFK is running on the Democrats are not concerned with the stuff you just brought up. The stuff you're talking about, Most Democrats are not trying to vote based on that.
That's what's crazy to me. They're not concerned about the health of our country. It blows my mind. But
well, that's fine, but it didn't. He should have ran as an independent. You don't infiltrate a party and try to change what they're concerned with. No, even to this day, now he just RFK. Hold on, hang on a second. RFK now switched from being a Democrat, and he joined a party that is passing all these abortion bans. That shows he was never a Democrat. If he could join that, he was never a Democrat to begin with.
See, I mean, that's what's funny to me is there's this definitive line, and with people that are left-leaning or far left like yourself, when someone crosses that line, there's no working between you two, right? You can't ever, cross a line to get something done and then step back across it. And that's why far-left liberals like yourself are a detriment to this country, because you're not going to ever work and cross that aisle. And that's what we need less of.
Okay. And you believe Trump, unlike far left liberals like me, is going to reach across the aisle. That's what you're telling me?
I mean, he's always been ready to, from what I've seen, even though I don't like the man for a lot of things. Like I said, never voted for him. This is going to be my first time. And I'm only voting for him because I'm hoping if he wins, that RFK get in there and get some of the shit that is important to me done, right?
But but just to make sure I get clarity, you said Trump has always been ready to reach across the aisle.
Yeah, that's how I looked at him as. I mean, it was show me an instance where he didn't reach across the aisle.
The abortion law is not reaching across the damn aisle. Shall not be infringed is not reaching across the aisle. What are you talking about?
Abortion went back to the states, Tim. That took it from a federal to a state.
Right.
Where it needed to be.
All right. Yeah, shall not be infringed. That's reaching.
And to see how you shut it down and you can't accept.
No, I didn't shut it down. I said right because I think what you're saying is totally wrong. You want me to spell it out for you?
Well, I mean, you make a point as how it's wrong.
Well, let me ask you this. You said he was willing to reach across the aisle. So you believe that putting abortion bans back into the hands of the states and letting them pass all these draconian laws, that was reaching across the aisle, in your opinion?
Man, I took it as, not in that one, no, but because I took that as...
You just chastised me. You just chastised me. Then you respond like that?
My God. I finally looked at it as we're going to quit hearing presidential nominees debate against abortion against each other when we know neither one's going to do anything. Okay. So I looked at that as a huge thing of saying, okay, finally, I'm not going to hear about it at the presidential level anymore because neither side's going to do shit about it. But if you put it in the states, yes, the state will be able to do stuff about it. Has it gone to some extremes? I'm in Texas. Do I agree with the way it is set up in Texas? No, but we've got to get out and vote and change it. And as long as we do that, we'll have what we need that will fit us here in Texas. Because I believe in the American people. You do not.
No, I don't believe. I'm going to tell you right at the bat. We clearly don't believe in anything we're both saying. You think I'm far left, and I think you're far wrong. He's promising to give police immunity from prosecution. Is that reaching across the aisle in your opinion?
Say that one time. How long ago did he say that?
I don't know. A few days ago. That ain't even said at many of the rallies.
The only time I heard that was about 4 or 5 months ago.
Oh, so that means it's irrelevant because it's 4 or 5 months old?
Well, he said it, and I don't remember what was happening that time. There was something with some cops, and, a lot of what he says, like the wall. I never believed he'd get a wall built, Tim. So why am I going to think he's going to give cops immunity? He'll say things to get something going.
Is it reaching across the aisle, though?
Good at it because he's not a politician.
But I'm asking you the question. If he says he wants to give police immunity from is that reaching across the aisle? Take your time.
I mean, it very well could be. I think there's a lot of ways we could find by saying, hey, this is what I think we need to do, to where the left could say, okay, we don't want to, if we want to do that, then we're going to take away funding and put it towards this and rescope the way it works. I think there's a way to do that. There's a way if you want to see it, but if you want to take what someone says, how off-cuff it is, or wild it can sound at times, and say, I can't work with that or even entertain it or talk to it, I mean, are you going to move forward?
You got any French salad for that word, that French dressing for that word salad? Now, he also is saying that Biden is only helping out Democratic hurricane victims. Is that reaching across the aisle?
Is he president yet, or what?
No, you said he's willing to reach across the aisle. Is it irrelevant when he's running?
I'm saying he's willing to do that as president, not as a candidate.
Oh, so
he's being attacked right now. So why is he gonna say anything? You're just gonna get up here and you're gonna show one mudslinging thing after another as to why he won't reach across the aisle when that's going to be limitless right now because there's an election going on. You're being disingenuous, Tim.
Yeah.
You really are. It's really sad that you far left.
Why are you so? Like, we don't even know each other. Nobody cares if we're sad or not. We're having a conversation. Sad. Listen, if you view it to be sad, that's fine. That is irrelevant to the conversation. Yeah. When he was president,
it is relevant when you're being disingenuous.
Okay, so when
he's telling you how it comes across.
So when he was president, while he was president, he stated that Barack Obama wiretapped his office without providing any proof at all. While he was president, was that reaching across the aisle?
Was that reaching across the aisle?
Yeah, you said he reaches across the aisle.
Let's talk about a policy he did that reached across the aisle, Tim, because that's what's important. You're being disingenuous, and you're not putting any policies he did that could have been reached across the aisle.
When he says, wait,
mudslinging he did, and that's not what we're talking about.
What you said when he's president, he's not mudslinging. So are you saying that we should ignore him saying that Obama wiretapped his office? Should we just ignore that?
I mean, I know you're not going. It's obvious.
No, I'm asking you though. I'm asking you. Should people just ignore that?
I mean, it's easy for me to ignore it, but I guess for some like yourself, it's not.
No, because you're on the side of the aisle where it's coming from. You're not on the other side of the aisle. That's why you're ignoring it. You're telling me he's reaching across the aisle, but when he says something like that, it should be ignored.
On the other side of the aisle, if the other side of the aisle actually took some responsibility in what they failed to do, right? But they don't. That side, your side you're on, never takes responsibility for where they failed. Because why are people still not getting money from FEMA right now? Why are they saying FEMA doesn't have enough money?
So you're telling me, you're saying the left never takes responsibility. So when he said Obama wiretapped his office, did his side take responsibility for that?
We deflected.
No.
We deflected.
No, I brought up the wiretapping thing, and you've been trying since I brought it up to get off of it.
Because the wiretapping thing's irrelevant, Tim. What does that have to do with this policy that he was trying to pass that would have brought both sides together? That is what's important. You want to talk about what the man has said, some off-cuff comments he makes, some things that he says, and that's what you use as ammunition against him, because that's what left-wing media uses. But when you're asked why the current administration, who the VP is running for president, has misused funds towards FEMA, out of FEMA, towards sanctuary cities and states, and now we're out of FEMA money with probably two more hurricanes coming, and you're not upset about that. You're willing to make excuses for them. Well, let's look at what Trump did this week and get mad about that, because that's what's more important, and I need a trustworthy candidate.
He accused a former president of a major felony of wiretapping his office, and everything you're saying is that's irrelevant. We should ignore that. He accused a former president of committing a major felony and wiretapping his office. And you're saying we should move on and talk about other stuff.
You think that's the only felony Obama did when he was a president?
I want evidence.
Running guns with Eric Holder into Mexico. The cartels have most of their equipment.
I want evidence of the wiretapping. Is it wrong for me to ask for that?
Yeah, you're going to die on that hill because you know you're getting beat everywhere else. That's sad, man. That's the disingenuous left for you. The false moral high ground y'all take and the disingenuous arguments you make.
Okay, well,
it really is.
Well, it's as always, it's a pleasure getting the banter and back and forth. You're welcome back on the program anytime, but I do got to move it on Texas. Good conversation.
Real, man.
Come back anytime. All right, moving on with the program. Look, at the end of the day, clearly there are things that he is concerned about. He's a voter. He has a right to be. And there's things that he don't care about, such as the Obama wiretapping. That's irrelevant to him. Now, in my opinion, I think any president should be held accountable for things they're saying. I don't buy into the notion, well, let's focus on this. That's irrelevant. If it was irrelevant, he wouldn't say it. I mean, you don't say something and then tell people, well, let's ignore it. This is very similar to the notion that Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs. And generally, when you bring it up now, Trump supporters are like, why are we still talking about that? Then why don't you bring it up? Same thing about January 6th or the election was stolen. A lot of folks on the right realize that that stuff is hurting Trump's candidacy and they want to move on. Then don't bring it up. Don't say it. If you don't want people to discuss it, don't bring it up. As my last caller would say, it's sad. You didn't have to say it. And by the way, Trump is still going at rallies and saying all of this stuff that my last caller don't want to discuss. Maybe when Trump says this stuff at his rallies, his supporters should yell out, it's sad and you need to move on, as opposed to only doing it to his detractors. Anyhow, moving on with the program though, Hillary and Bill have lost Hillary and Bill have lost 3,040 people that know them have passed away. How does that happen? Well, he will work for all. Here's the thing I want to say. This is the Bill and the Clintons' death list. I've heard about this numerous times. When Trump came down the escalator, he immediately started talking about draining the swamp and how corrupt the Clintons were. Now, all of the things that folks accuse Hillary Clinton of, major felonies, you're talking about murders and things, all of this stuff happened before Trump was president. The guy who came in office and told us how corrupt she is. Why didn't he do anything about it? He clearly made the promise or alluded to the notion that if he becomes president, she's going to get locked up. He's letting folks yell this out in every city at every rally. If she's that corrupt, why didn't he do anything about it? So we could say this. If you want to suggest that Hillary Clinton is corrupt and she's done all of this stuff, okay, we can take that point. But then you have to also admit that Trump dropped the ball significantly because he called out the corruption and did nothing about it. If there was a time to prosecute her for all of these alleged crimes, that was it. Here's the guy who is saying she did all of the things you're saying, and he reaches the nation's highest office and then follows up by doing nothing, absolutely nothing about it. So if you're going to say she got away with a lot of things, you got to point to Trump as dropping the ball because he called it out before becoming president and got elected and did nothing about it. Look it in the comments real quick. Here's an idea. Every guest makes stupid statements, must have sources audience will verify. Well, my last caller didn't want to have that conversation. Anything that Trump may have said that he didn't have sources, well, it's irrelevant. That ain't that important. Let's stick with policies. Let him say things that he have no sources for, and let's just not even discuss that. Let's only stick to policies because in my last caller's opinion, that's all that's important. I have a difference of opinion. I tend to believe that if you're commander in chief, what you say makes as much of a difference as what you do. And that's been one of the challenges of MAGA ever since Trump came on the scene is to get people to focus on what he's doing and not what he's saying. That ain't gonna work in a country of 350 million people. People can hear you too. You don't just get credit for good policies you're implementing and everybody just ignore all of the wild things you're saying. And that's what MAGA has been trying to do since day one. Nobody's making him say that stuff, folks. He doesn't have to say it. He's choosing to say it. So he gets held accountable for it, good or bad. Y'all don't give a flying duck, choice of words there, Renee. Y'all don't give a flying duck about kids. It's all about controlling women and honoring religions you barely adhere to. Strong statement. There is some validity to that, certainly when it comes to the Christian religion and obviously with the rolling back of Roe v. Wade. Now, he tried to suggest that Trump was reaching across the aisle by returning abortion rights to the states. That's laughable in my opinion. But as he said, maybe it's just sad. Let me go back to the box and I will continue on. Dencal, I'm going to treat you like Calgon Dencal and ask that you take me away. Dencal, good afternoon.
What's happening, man?
I don't know, man. I'm in the trip. Apparently, I am sad.
Oh man, bro, that was rough for me, man. I felt bad for you.
Well, I always like to give my, I say this as a free speech, uncensored program. I always like to give my detractors plenty of time. I don't get as many that detract as long as he did, so I gave him extra time. But what did you hear that may have opened up your ears and lifted your eyebrows?
That he had no rationale or reason for voting for Trump.
Yeah.
He said because the guy he liked might get a position in the government to fix something that he says is all corrupt.
Yeah.
Why would you, how do you fix something? What, first of all, he doesn't understand how Donald Trump operates.
Wow.
Yes, he probably promised him something in his government.
Yeah.
But he'll probably be chief dog catcher. He's not going to be in charge of anything of major importance in Trump's cabinet. He will never be that.
Yeah. And I mean, he may relegate him like Ben Carlson or something. And I see in the comments on YouTube, Michael Martinez says, "Why are you still talking about him? He clearly got under your skin." No, I generally talk about a lot of guests right after we have a conversation. Look, anyway, but no, I agree that RFK is probably not going to make much of a difference in the Trump administration. He's going to, the stuff he is promoting in regards to pesticides and all of this shit that my last caller talked about, the lobbyists are promoting. Well, those lobbyists are going to be donating money to the Trump campaign. Trump's not going to turn down money to institute RFK's agenda. He's going to say, you should have ran your own damn campaign.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's crazy that he thinks that, though.
Yeah, real quick, because there's so many people out here with this, they don't understand how FEMA works. So I just wanted, just a quick minute to just kind of explain to them the process.
Okay.
You mind if I do that?
The floor is yours.
Okay. So every year or at specific intervals, the Congress has to come together and they have to develop a budget. And they have to decide, okay, this year we're going to forecast this many storms and this much money has to be allocated. They all come together and they vote. Some say they want more money. Some say they want less money, depending on what their agenda is. The Republicans wanted less money to be allocated. They both get together also and decide that first emergency funding that they give people. How much is that going to be when they're in an emergency situation? They need money for food and water and maybe gas or a hotel. How much is that going to be? The Republicans wanted it to be what it is, $750. Now, that's not all people get. That's just
right.
The beginning.
That's the beginning for the essentials.
Right. Then they have to have the auditors and the people have to come out and look at your property and see what happened. And then a lot of people don't qualify because if you got a homeowner's insurance, you don't get FEMA money. That's for disasters that you don't even get to touch.
I didn't know that.
So just because a tree fell on your house don't mean you get FEMA money. And that's what people don't understand. FEMA is federal emergency. It's not to rebuild everybody's house exactly the way it used to be. Because if they're going to do that, what's the point of getting homeowners insurance?
It's a great point. That's a great point. And I said the same thing that, since when has the government ever been reliable to make you whole? If people think that that's the case, no, that's never going to happen.
FEMA is not about making people whole. It's about helping the people who don't have any resources at least be able to, to survive and maybe get back on their feet. All of those, do you realize how many people were affected by this storm? The millions of people?
Right.
People really believe that FEMA is about to come in and give every single person $750 to start, then look at their property and look at all of the damage and cut them a check. They don't understand. That's not how the process goes.
Well, but I think you and I kind of know why. It's because Trump is making it sound like that if he was president, that is what would happen.
But that's a lie.
Yeah, well, we know that. Why
would they get online or talk to people and say, "Oh, that's messed up. That Harris only gave people $750. What they gonna do with that?" That is the dumbest thing ever. vice president is assigning people anything is silly. And what happened is they still have money. All of the people have said, look, we've got what we needed initially, but then they're going to go into a second phase of this, and they're running low on the funding now because of the other storms and other things that have happened this year. So they need to continue on. They need extra funding because they didn't allocate enough funding for this.
Okay, but we gotta have a conversation on two other topics in regards to this. Number one being money that's going to the Ukraine. How do you respond to folks who might say, look, maybe you would have money to help out struggling Americans if you didn't send so much of it overseas? I'm gonna give you now I got a bunch of responses to this shit myself, but I'm gonna let you tackle it. How do you respond to people who say that?
That's a very simple question. When the people get together to make the budget, they divvy up the money into different pots. Those people have divvied up the money to say we're going to give this much money to immigration, this much money to a tree growing, this much money to animal research. So that money has been allocated to different things. When something happens and you use up all of the money in one of those allocations, you don't get to turn around and look and say, well, if we hadn't did the animal research, we would have more money for this. That's not how it works. The money has been allocated already. And the president or the vice president or nobody can just take money from other funding and just say, well, we're going to put it over there.
Yeah. Well, in regards to the immigration issue, let's just be clear. We both know that if Trump is in office, there would not be pretty much anybody coming in the country anyway. So they definitely believe too much money is with the immigrants, because if Trump gets in office, almost all of the money spent addressing immigrants will be used to kick people out. There won't be anybody coming in. I mean, as he said, he's going to shut the border, and almost all of the money he uses will be in terms of deporting people. I think it'll be almost damn near impossible to come in this country legally across the southern border once Trump gets in.
Well, what I would have to say about that is they need to look at Mike Johnson and the Republicans, because they are in control of the purse strings. So all of the money that's been going to these immigrants has been allocated by the House to go to immigrants. So when that happens, don't look at the president and say, why are you doing this? Because the president, all he does is sign it after they have already negotiated in the House and ran it through the Senate.
It would be... Now, what you're saying not only is correct, at least by my assertion, but I see a lot of folks in the comment section agree with you as well. This is where I give Trump credit, and I criticize the Democrats. The Democrats do a piss poor job in explaining some of the things you're saying. Kamala Harris should be on TV or holding interviews with various podcast hosts and stuff like that, saying exactly what you're saying. Because if you don't do that, the only person speaking is Trump, and he's obviously saying just the opposite. And Trump is speaking probably, 10,000 words for every one you hear from Kamala. And that's where the problem is that he's leading the narrative, and he's taking the conversation where he wants it to go, and she doesn't speak enough to have an ample pushback.
Well, I mean, I can agree with you that they do a horrible job sometimes getting across their message or saying what needs to be said. But another thing that goes along with what you said as far as what Trump does, I was listening to a program and they had a social scientist who was talking about how Trump communicates with people, and he said he basically communicates to people on a 4th grade level. And now this is science. This is not me. The way he communicates, to people on such a low level of education that yes, all of the people can understand what he's talking about. Even the people, even though he's lying, the people that are in the very low levels of education and wealth, they hear him and they like, wow, he's talking like our language.
Well, shit. then Cal, if that's the case, then why don't Kamala learn how to speak at a 4th grade level? I mean, fact is, it's making Trump one very well-loved candidate. I mean, if you can speak clearly and concisely in the language that people understand, I don't give a damn what level is that. Kamala Harris needs to be doing that. I mean, Trump is winning with that.
Well, I would say I don't know that our government necessarily itself in this capacity should do that, but they should have people. They should have people to do it for them. They should have people that go out there and speak to the people. And I'm not using myself as an example. I do have an ability to explain things to people, and I've learned that from being an instructor in the military and learning how to communicate to different types of people in all walks of life. But they need somebody, and I know it's kind of late. It's only
but shit, people don't vote it already. Yeah, it's late. We'll keep going.
I think by now, if it hasn't happened, I think it probably just won't. And maybe that'll be a lesson learned that maybe even our politicians at the highest level need to dumb down themselves to speak to certain groups of people. And then once they do that, they'll probably get criticized for doing that too. So
I think for instance, you mentioning how the budgets are divvied up at the beginning of the fiscal year, whenever they do it. And then all of a sudden, if there is a disaster, they're not going to take budgets that have been previously already divvied up and move them over here or there. And I think a lot of folks don't understand it. Like folks are talking about the immigrant issue or talking about money to the Ukraine. And by the way, what the MAGA side of the aisle needs to realize is that Trump and his supporters are really the only ones that are against supporting Ukraine. When they had that 9-men panel, Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis and Vivek and all of those folks, they asked them, if one of you win, would any of you continue supporting the Ukraine? They all raised their hand. All 9 of those people. The governor of, I think the former governor of North Dakota was there, Nikki Haley, all of them said they would do that. The only person saying they would not continue supporting Ukraine is Trump and his supporters. Traditional Republicans like the Romneys and all of them are saying do it. The independents and the liberals are all saying doing that, including all of our NATO allies. It is only Trump and his supporters are saying that.
Even all of the people were like up in arms about the last time or the last couple of times we sent funding to Ukraine. And they just act like they do not realize that the Republicans are the ones in charge of the purse strings. They're the ones who sending the money.
That's why I keep saying.
Democrats.
That's why I keep saying
They sit up here and be like, oh, but Biden is sending all the money and Kamala, they sending all the money and Americans ain't getting nothing. Well, y'all control the damn money.
That's what I keep saying is that Kamala Harris and Biden need to let the people know when you're questioning about money going to the Ukraine, why don't you question the Republican Congress who authorized the money to be sent there? The fact is they don't say that. I'm sure when Kamala is out she don't do enough town halls because you would have plenty of voters and constituents come up and ask her, why aren't you helping us out and sending money to the Ukraine? That's when she should be able to say that. I would even carry around a damn tablet with me that has the video footage of C-SPAN, the yays and nays when they voted on it. I would show them the video of it. Like, I didn't do this. This is what the Republican Congress did. That's how you... Go ahead.
I don't know if they have an assumption that the people are halfway educated in civics, or they believe that if you just, I don't know if they think everybody watches C-SPAN or what the hell they doing, but they're not getting out. And I thought even Obama had a hard time like explaining to the normal people like some of his policies and what they, people still talking about the ACA and how they don't want it and they want him to get rid of it, and they have no idea how much they are benefiting from no pre-existing conditions, from being able to keep your kids on your insurance.
Keep it off your credit.
They have no idea how many people used to go bankrupt from breaking a leg, from catching, catching a bad cold from getting put in intensive care. They had insurance that was 80-20. You know what I'm saying? But if you got $200,000 bill and it's 80-20, you only got to pay 20%.
Yeah.
You got to pay $40,000.
Well, I got to move it on, but as one candidate once said, I love the poorly educated. So it does work. So that's what's happening. I mean, it's going to help.
Man, that's going to fly over everybody's head over there on YouTube. I'll talk to you soon.
As always, it's a pleasure, Dick Count. Thank you. And I see in the comments, a few folks stated that even if you showed them, I see Boss Move says, Tim, they know it, but they still will say that because Trump says it. It is a bit challenging sometimes if you're talking to MAGA and you're trying to counter something that Trump said. I get your point, but like I said, I would show them the C-SPAN footage and tell them here's a Republican Congress walking up to the desk. He's voting in favor of sending money to the Ukraine. And you can watch them all come up, and at the end, you see the yays and nays. This could not have been done without Republican support of sending money to the Ukraine. I think the Democrats do a piss poor job at that. As my last caller rightfully pointed out, most people believe that it is Biden and Kamala Harris that sent money to the Ukraine, and they're going to go ahead and vote to reelect the Republican Congress that is the ones who actually did it. Trump would be all over that. Trump would be naming names of the Republican Congress people that voted to send money to the Ukraine. I mean, I'm not always a fan of the name calling that Trump does, but I do give the man credit for speaking to the people. Now, I'm not saying that everything he says is factual, but he knows how to speak in a way that makes folks feel like he covered the bases. I mean, I've been to a couple of Trump rallies, and that guy he's a good speaker. I mean, hell, he got me. He said something I remember. I can't remember what he said, but something that resonated with me. I stood up and applauded. I was only about 5 rows back. He pointed at me and winked. I felt it. I'm just telling you, Trump is a powerful man. Let me go back to the box. So you obviously do not know Trump when you slander the fuck out of him. Tennis, Teflon, Tan. What's a hell of a name? You says you obviously don't know Trump when you slander the fuck out of him. Well, let me just be clear about something. I don't think you have an argument to stand on if you're gonna defend Trump by saying somebody is slandering him. You kind of would have to realize Trump is known for slandering people, right? I mean, that's kind of his method of operation. You're really going to suggest that he's being slandered? I mean, he's right now saying Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs and being sued for it. That was the whole purpose of the wildly huge payout of E. Jean Carroll, because he was slandering her. You're really going to use that? If you want to say I don't know Trump, we can debate that, but I don't think using slander to defend Trump is a good stand to take. I just don't think that's a good hill to die on, because he is going around slandering everybody. I mean, isn't he saying right now that Kamala Harris is a communist? And didn't he say Barack Obama was born in Kenya? I mean, come on now. For real? Looking in the comments, Tim got a wink from the devil. You're saying Trump winking at me was the devil? I enjoyed the Trump rallies I went to. I did enjoy. The people were very nice to me and things of that nature. Now, they may not know I'm running a program. They may not, because at the end of the day, I didn't go to a Trump rally to debate. I went to hear what he had to say. Now, a few folks walked up to me, being a 6'6" black man, 300-pound black man. I stood out like a sore thumb. So a few people walked up to me, some of the internet content creators, and I'm probably out there on the internet somewhere. People ask me some questions, but I went to listen. I didn't go to debate. And I did, because I did have a few folks that did do a few things that I would normally have loved to speak with, such as there was an African-American gentleman that was standing in line next to me. Now, he was, as some of my Kamala Harris support, Indian and Jamaican. He was mixed. I don't know what, but he was mixed. But he was, predominantly black. And he actually had on a shirt that said the N-word for Trump. So I would have loved to talk to him in private. Negroes for Trump, but it didn't say Negroes. So that was one. And then I had another guy who looked me dead in the eye and said Trump was appointed by God. It would have been worthy of having a conversation with him as well. But I let the people speak, and I enjoyed myself there. But looking in the comments, Trump defrauded students. Yeah, defrauding and defaming are two different things, though. But he's suggesting that I am defaming Trump. And like I said, Trump is kind of known for doing that. Real quick in the comments, please vote early. Once polls are open, vote blue, says user. We'll see. Tim, you funny. You talk about you from Chicago and you actually from suburbs of Chicago. No credibility. 74th and Stony Island, across the street from the Mosque of Farrakhan. That ain't suburbs, sir. Ain't no. Now, I was born on the far south side of Chicago, but I lived in the hood. I mean, my dad was in the Robert Taylors. I was in the ain't no suburbs about this. I mean, no, ain't no. I mean, I lived on, like I said, 74th and Stony Island. There ain't no sub. If you know anything about Chicago, you'll know that's one of the worst neighborhoods in Chicago. So I've never lived in any suburb of Chicago as a kid. None. I spent a few years in Milwaukee, on the north side of Milwaukee, which is also the hood. Yeah, you must have heard the wrong thing on the program. I say let's take Kamala's golden audio earrings and hear her own truly scary answers and see. Well, you got to first prove, McStrum, that the earrings she had electronics in them. I get that they look apparently like somebody else's earrings that had microphones in them. You got to prove that, though. Until I see proof, that's just a conspiracy theory. Because many suggest that Trump was never hit in the ear and used a pack of ketchup because his ear healed so quickly. At the end of the day, the guy got hit with a high-powered rifle round in his ear and doesn't have a scar. I mean, he took a high-powered rifle round to the ear, and his ear was healed up in like a week or two. So you want to go down a conspiracy path, but we can do that with Trump as well. 39th and Federal. Federal is where all the projects were. So for folks who don't think I know about Chicago, that's where all the Robert Taylors were. You go up and down Federal, which is one block west of State Street, maybe east, one block east of State Street. But you know, if you're from Chicago, I know what the hell I'm talking about. The white Robert Taylors, the ones that were like cream colored, 39th and Federal, they probably would have been cream down there. I was in the red ones. 48th and Federal, by the way. 48, 45, South Federal was the building. So anyway, let me go back to the box. I wish I was from Lincoln Park, Chris. Going back to the box, Lincoln Park is where the money is at. Continuing on with the program, going to one of my subscribers. I think that's at Stick. West of State. Okay, so one block west of State. What would one block east be? Michigan? Good evening, Stick.
Hey, how you doing, Tim? What's going on?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So we're talking about which one of these candidates between Kamala Harris and Trump are the most trustworthy. And thank you, guess what, for the super chat.
Tim, this is not April Fool's. This is Halloween month.
Okay, that is true.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy question. Now, trustworthy. I gotta go. Kamala all day. Miss Harris, Miss Vice President, soon to be president.
So why do you think she's more trustworthy than Trump?
Because she's only told that one lie that you can find. even if it's I'm saying it's a lie, but I'm just saying if that's
you do agree that Kamala Harris was lying, right?
I agree to if she really meant that it was officers that died. Yes, it was a lie.
Okay.
But if she was saying, Ashley Babbitt, the other guy that got smushed, because I actually thought that guy.
You said the guy that got smushed.
Yeah, in the door.
Yeah, I know you talk. I just never heard it referred to as smushed. I never heard it referred to as smushed.
Smushed, man. I thought his eyeballs was about to pop out. But yeah, so
when it comes to trustworthy, it is Miss Harris. By far, this man has already been on record telling 33,000 lies. So, I mean, if that's all you got, Tim. I mean, that devil advocate is weak today.
Well, I didn't say it was. I didn't say I was.
Just like when you said Trump talked so much, he's bound to lie. That was weak.
Yeah, I didn't say the lies were based on a level of equality. And real quick in the comments, Spitfire Shine says I'm in Milwaukee. Well, I went to North Division High School, 10th and Center. So for you Milwaukee folks, grew up on 45th and North Avenue as well. So if you're in Milwaukee, I know a lot about Milwaukee and Chicago. So anyway, going back to the box, in regards to what you asked. Now, and by the way, also Capitol, 64th and Capitol. I did a little bit of Marshall High School too. But real quick, I want you to hear this. This is what we're talking about. Now, you tell me, is she lying?
The President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital.
Before I continue on, some people believe her even stating that he incited a violent mob is a lie. Some people don't even believe that.
No. Were they violent, Tim? Did they smush somebody?
They were good people. They were good people on both sides.
Did they break the glass? Did they break the glass? And did Ashley Babbitt try to go in there and she got unalive? Correct?
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend.
Trying to break through the door and break down the door.
Yeah, I can play devil's advocate, but I'm not going to pretend like what happened on January 6th was not violent. Yeah, it was violent. I mean, some folks are being let in, but there's clearly cops being chased up the stairs and, as you say, smushed. That clearly was happening. There's people being bear sprayed and beat with flags. Yeah, it was violent, but I want you to hear the second half of it. Yeah, it was violent. There's no denying that.
Capital to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
Is that true? On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. Is that true?
No, I don't believe that to be true. I don't know, again, if that was a slip of the tongue, but I'm not going to make excuses for it. I believe that she was talking about police officers. That was a lie.
Okay. Well, and she clearly mentioned. Yeah, she clearly says.
And ask me one more question, Tim. Ask me the question that you've been asking MAGA for like the last 4 years, maybe 3.5 years. Did Donald Trump win or lose? Ask me.
Okay, wait. I'll put on my report. I'll put on my journalist hat. Stick, do you believe, or better yet, Stick, who won the 2020 election? I'll just ask it to you just like that. Who won that election?
Well, Joe Biden won the election. Joe Biden and the Democratic Party and anybody else, the libertarians and the liberals and anybody else on the left did not cheat. He won fair and square. He got, Donald Trump got fired by 81?
You sounded like Kamala. That's what Kamala said.
Yeah, he got fired. So, that was his line. We took it and we put it out there. We own the libs. You're fired. And we're trying to make it so you can't even get a referral / I got somebody at the company, let me in. He's trying to get back in that position again. Nah, we already had our just of you. We already had our experience. It was very nasty taste in our mouth, and that's the reason why he has so much static. On top of all the other seasonings that he loved to add every day.
Well, he is saying he won by a landslide, though, Stick. Where do you believe where is he getting that from?
His brain. That little, up under that little orange carpet he got. Yeah, he's getting it from that brain of his. Because there's no evidence that he won. He went to court 60 times, lost all of them. Supreme Court hasn't came to him and has basically told him the people that he picked plus the ones that were already there, hey, look, you lost, my friend. It is what it is. Move on.
Well, then I have to ask, Why? I want you to hear. Here's another clip that's in reference to what we're talking about. I want you to explain this. Now, this is the J.D. Vance Tim Walsh debate.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. And I think a revisionist history on this. Look, I don't understand how we got to this point. But the issue was that
real quick, this isn't in reference to January 6th, but it's only a minute long, so we'll talk about it at the end.
That happened. Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this. It has massive repercussions. This idea that there's censorship to stop people from threatening to kill someone, threatening to do something, that's not censorship. Censorship is book banning. We've seen that brought up. I just think for everyone tonight, and I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want to hear. And I think there's a lot of agreement. This is one that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
Why won't he answer that question?
Hey, that's why I said, please ask me, because, they just won't just, put their bootstraps on, man up, woman up, whatever, transgender up. They won't do it. They just won't do it.
You said transgender up. Oh my God.
Well, the reason I say that is because MAGA, Donald Trump supporters tend to have problems with people that they have things in common with. I'll just say that.
What do you mean?
For instance, like, they're always pointing a finger at somebody. Then we find out maybe 2 weeks later, tops, that they've already done it. Whatever, like J.D. Vance, him with the couch and other stuff he got going on, and he likes to wear eyeshadow, and he plays a thin line, but then he also goes out there and speaks ill towards the LGBTQ community. So again, they do these things, but then they also have a lot in common with that community. So it's
wait, you telling me the Republican Party has a lot in common with the LGBT community?
Yeah, why not?
Based on what?
Why not? Based on they just had what was it, a governor or something like that? He committed an unaliving of himself because they found out that he was.
I did hear about that. Wow.
So I mean, I'm not putting that on the entire Republican Party.
Well, you're not putting it on the entire Republican Party, but I see that bald chick in the comments here. She says most of them are in the closet. She says most of them. Wow.
And they love to point the finger when they're the ones who's actually committing some of the heinous things that they point the other finger and say that somebody else is doing, whether it's the Democratic Party or just people, period. Just like, for instance, and this is not, again, for everybody, but did you not know that the Caucasian Americans had a book called The Delectable Negro?
No.
Yes, yeah.
What is that like calling? What is that? The comedy, used to call a black man delicious. What are you getting at?
No, they had an actual book called The Delectable Negro, meaning you can take certain parts of the Negro anatomy, eat it, and you will basically, remember what I was telling you about the movie Mandingo?
Yes.
About they believe certain things because somebody more intelligent, at least they think that person was more intelligent, told them that. So they just went along with it. Okay,
so they were eating black people? Are you telling me they were eating black people?
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
I thought eating weird shit was part of the Haitian culture. You're telling me the Caucasians do it?
Well, again, remember what I just said. They always point the finger at somebody else when they're actually doing it.
And this was a thing that it's a book. You can Google it. It's called The Delectable Negro. It's been on a couple of different shows, as well as what was it called? Colors, Hidden Colors. They talk about it. Dr. Umar Johnson has talked about it.
The Delectable.
But remember, yes, that's what it's called. And remember, you have people like Count Dracula. This guy was actually a real person. They actually have him in pictures. Of course, they're paintings with human parts on a table.
All right, you grossing me the fuck out.
So basically, and he's Eastern European. So again, they're pointing the finger, just like they used to a long time ago, about the Africans. Oh, they're cannibalistic. They're this, they're that. In actuality, you are the only guys that have proof that you are cannibals. So stop pointing the finger. If you don't want nobody to say, actually, that's you, stop pointing the finger. Those Haitians, they're not doing what you're saying. You're just running with something that J.D. Vance told everybody that he kind of like made it up to shine a light that there was 20,000 immigrants in one town. So what? Y'all asked for them.
Well, I got it. I'm gonna move it on, but the Democrats, that's what I said. They need to bring forward the people who asked for those immigrants to come there. If the corporation, if the company wanted them to come there and work, they need to get the people from the company that put in their request and put them on TV. Because a lot of the Republicans think that the Biden administration just sent them there on their own. So they need, this is where the Democrats, their messaging sucks. But I got to move it on, Stick.
Well,
real quick, go ahead.
I'm going to say this to end it, Tim. In Ohio right now, from what I'm seeing, because I'm not there, I'm in Florida. We about to have a hurricane.
Oh no!
But what I'm seeing is you got some people in Ohio that embrace the Haitian community, whether they be white, black, American, whatever, because they know that their businesses also get their dollars, which are American dollars.
Yeah, they went and patronized a lot of the Haitian businesses right after that stuff came out. A lot of white people went in their businesses. Yeah, there's plenty of whites in that town that are friendly with the Haitians.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I will also say that there's haters, and those haters are jealous also. When you have somebody, I don't care if they're Haitian, I don't care if they're of the Asian persuasion, when they come and they open up a business, the typical American will get mad at those people for having that business, and they don't have one.
Well
so
said.
I'll just say that. So that to me, it's either you embrace it or you're a hater.
All right.
That's all I got to say.
There's certainly going to be some haterade floating around. Thank you, Stick. Appreciate you coming through. Real quick in the comments, Dennis Calhoun said the Republicans shut down Grindr during the RNC. He's saying that during the Republican National Convention, was that in Milwaukee? There were so many people on Grindr, they shut down the internet. I didn't hear. And it does say human consumption and homoeroticism. I like homoeroticism. I know I'm not pronouncing that right. I've never heard of the word. Homoeroticism. But it says the delectable Negro, human consumption, so that is cannibalism, homoeroticism, and within U.S. slave culture. So human consumption and homoeroticism within U.S. slave culture. I've never heard of this shit, but now I'm interested. I may have to order a copy of that. That is on, I believe it was on Amazon that I found that. Wow. A lot of dark shit out there. Like I said, I enjoy having a free speech forum because at the end of the day, I don't think there is anyone that is a know-it-all, including myself, and I do often learn a lot from you folks. That publication seems to be going for about $30. The Delectable Negro. Here's another copy of it as well. Looks like more of a paperback, more of a modern. Wow, I gotta say the least. That is interesting. All right, moving on with the program real quick. Eating Negroes. Goddamn. Jesus Christ. I wouldn't mind being eaten, but not like that. One guy who was in the building said he got notification was within feet of him Okay, you're responding to somebody else that way. Not only is Diddy not getting free, so many other celebs and higher power people will be implicated. I don't. Should Diddy may take his life while he's there. He may go by way of Epstein to save some other folks the headache. Real quick, going back to the comments. By the way, I haven't asked you folks to tap the screen. Should have been around 60,000 by now at least. So tap the screen, get the likes up. This is always uncensored programming. You know how we run. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You don't have to agree with the host. You can be critical of anybody on the program you want, including the host. We don't believe in censorship. We're all about free speech here. We go left of Bernie Sanders to him having dinner with QAnon. That is how everybody gets to speak. That is how free speech works. We are MAGA friendly. Been that way since day one. If you enjoy this type of dialogue from all sides of the aisle without all the censorship, you're in the right place. Feel free to follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. We're here Monday through Friday. Amen for free speech, brother. Thank you, Justin. Sometimes it can be a difficult avenue to take because a lot of folks don't like to hear their candidate or their ideas of choice challenged. We challenge everything here. There is no winners and losers. We challenge everything. And that's how the program works. So continuing on with the program, though, breaking: Fox is not a reliable news outlet. I think at the end of the day, no outlet is 100% reliable, boss moves. You think CNN or MSNBC is 100% reliable? I don't. I'm not going to pretend like Fox News is. I think the Dominion voting machines ruined Fox News credibility for a long, long time. Because it's pretty clear Fox News was just in the tank for Trump and was willing to say anything. So, and that's, at the end of the day, I think that is something we will look back on from the Trump era, whether he wins or loses. We're going to probably look back and discuss often how many folks sacrificed a lot. You ever see the military slogan? All gave some gave all. That happened with former President Trump. I mean, the bank accounts of Giuliani and Mike Lindell and Sidney Powell. I mean, there's a lot of people that sacrificed a lot. Well, in regards to Fox News, as you pointed out, I'm watching Fox News the evening of January 6th, after that whole melee was on television. Justice Jeanine Pirro, Judge Jeanine Pirro, one of the co-hosts on The Five. She's had her own show on the network a couple of times. She gets on there and says that's Antifa. Now, she's in a studio in New York. She's nowhere near the Capitol building. She's on Fox News telling the viewers that was Antifa that performed that whole melee that day. This is what I'm talking about. The Trump administration has hurt Fox News's credibility probably for some time. I think that it was during the Trump era when they no longer flew the banner that says fair and balanced. They don't fly that anymore. They no longer have that at the bottom of the screen, fair and balanced. So, I'm not going to disagree with you there that Fox News, but it's not just Fox News. Other networks are like that as well. To have a commentator go on television the night of January 6th and say that's Antifa was ridiculous. Like, you just throwing something out for the sake of throwing something out. Real quick, looking in the comments, so glad Dominion sued the heck out of Fox and won. Yeah, they won a lot. They won a lot. And it's pretty clear that the reason Fox News settled is because several of their commentators, including the likes of Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson, who's working there at the time, they actually knew they were lying about Dominion voting machines and were emailing each other about it. They were flat out admitting, yeah, we know what we're saying is bullshit, but, we're doing it for a cause. And somehow, some way, the legal team of Dominion got a hold of those emails. And at that point, there was no hope for Fox, so they had to settle. But they were clearly lying. And that's most of those folks are some of the, with the exception of maybe Laura Ingraham. And Laura Ingraham is a big favorite on the right as well. But Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson are huge. They have huge audiences. And here they are caught deliberately lying. Just saying Dominion voting machines was cheating. Looking in the comments, waiting to hear CNN's credibility. Well, you've seen the likes of Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo. They had to bite the bullet because they weren't necessarily on the up and up either. But I don't know if Chris Cuomo or Don Lemon did anything equivalent to the Dominion voting machine thing. I mean, Chris Cuomo was working with his brother, the former governor of New York, and trying to defend him from those sexual assault lawsuits or whatever. But that Dominion voting machine, to me, that is probably one of the worst things the news network could have done. Going back to the box, real quick in the comments, Judge Janine's husband was pardoned the last day of Trump's term. Trump is a quid pro quo kind of guy. If you support Trump, he'll rain gifts and shower praise down upon you. But if you're on the wrong side of Trump, it's equally as painful. I mean, it's pretty bad. You might be wrong about Dominion, though there are still some people thinking that they are computers and corruptible. The Dominion voting machines thing is not wrong. There was no reason for Trump to say what he said about the Dominion voting machines, and he didn't really get punished for it. The henchmen got it. The Tucker Carlsons and the Hannitys and was Alex Jones in on that as well? But it was mainly right-wing pundits that got in on that, saying that the machines were switching votes from Trump to Biden with no evidence. Shouldn't have done it. Real quick in the comments, move on from 2020. People are dying in the floods. Mario Mano, we talked about this earlier, that, okay, you're saying move on from 2020. People are dying in the floods. Does that only apply to detractors of Trump? Because Trump is still talking about 2020 at all his rallies, and no one in the audience is yelling, move on. It's only when people that are critical of Trump bring up 2020 that they're told to move on. Same thing with the Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs and some of these other wild statements that Trump makes. If you want people to move on, how about it start with the person that's actually saying it? Trump is still saying this. Even at the debate, he was saying he won the 2020 election. Why won't he move on? That is, if you want people to move on from the 2020 election, it starts with Trump. Unless you have the notion that only Trump should be allowed to talk about this stuff. Everybody else should shut up about the 2020 election, and only Trump should be able to speak on it. Because I'm not hearing MAGA tell him to his face, you need to stop. When he's on the rallies and he's speaking to this stuff, people are applauding. He did it at the rally I was at. He brought it up. I just looked down. I mean, Trump said some things I agreed with, but when he went into the 2020 election, I just looked down. But if you want it to stop, it has to start with the man who's saying it. What matters for the country is foreign wars, controlled borders, good economy. Then why won't he talk about foreign wars, controlled borders, and a good economy? Why is he wasting time talking about 2020? You just said it should stop, right? Why don't you tell him that? Trump's not moving on because Democrats keep bringing it up. Yeah, no, ain't nobody making Trump go to a rally and say that January 6th was peaceful and he wants to pardon people and it was a good day. And if you want to say that to defend Trump, I get it, but nobody's making him bring that stuff up. He's doing it because he wants to. Trump is not a guy that can be pushed around very easy. He says what he wants to say. He wants to say he won that 2020 election. It ain't because the Democrats are making him say it, but I'll give you an E for effort. Going back to the box, Jimmy Boy, good evening. Welcome to the program. We bring it up because he won't shut the hell up, says Jennifer. Yeah, there's some of that in there too. We are upset that Republicans lied about January 6th. Melanated King, come on over. Real quick in the comments, I don't know what happened with my last guest. We'll keep it moving. I couldn't imagine taking on that capitulation tour myself, knowing the world was on the edge. Because he only has concepts of America. Great again, nothing concrete. All right. In a W-hour talk, he talks multiple things. Yeah, but he does keep bringing up 2020. Yeah, when Trump has a rally, he covers a whole bunch of stuff. But 2020 keeps coming up. He does keep bringing it. In fact, he just recently stopped coming out at the rally. They played, when you go to a Trump rally, they always play the national anthem, and we all stand. He was coming out to the January 6th choir singing the anthem. That's been recent. He was doing that. So when you say that people need to stop talking about this stuff, it's got to start with Trump. Will G, the same people telling us to move on from cats and dogs, January 6th and the pandemic, are the same people telling us to move on from slavery. Damn. A lot of validity there. I can't argue with any of that. Because it's all coming from the right. It is, yeah, I can't argue with that. That people are saying, like I said, it would be fine if they were consistent about it. If you're going to say people need to move on from the cats and dogs comment, the pandemic, and telling people, it would be fine if the right was telling Trump to do it also. But if the left brings up these things, they say we need to move on. If Trump brings it up, they applaud. So it is what it is. Some same people telling us school lunches are radical. Who the hell is saying school lunches are radical? Damn. I have something on RFK that I would love for people to know if they don't already. I'd like to know what that is. J-E's. Going back to the box. I didn't see what the last name there was. The J, is that it? Is that what I'm bringing up? What is it? I'd like to know. What do you have on RFK? J-E's. Good evening.
Greetings, good brother. Hope you're well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Same.
So I would start with that bit of information. And what I would start with about RFK is a gentleman by the name of Timothy Mellon. Now, Timothy Mellon is a very wealthy man and has been very wealthy for a long time. He has a lot of stake in railroads, if I'm not mistaken. The reason why I bring him up is Timothy Mellon is Trump's biggest donor. Timothy Mellon is also RFK's biggest donor and has been for some time. Now, what we know about RFK, aside from the vaccine things that he's talked about, is he claimed to care a lot about the environment. Okay, cool. So, Timothy Mellon's railroad that he owned was repeatedly violated for environmental and safety laws over a number of years. But that's your number one donor. Also, president who got fired, former President Trump also cut 100 plus EPA regulations while his administration was there.
Shit, he was talking about getting rid of the EPA as a whole.
And again, this is RFK's position now.
Yeah.
What I need people to be honest about with RFK is this. He got his feelings hurt. RFK got dumped. And instead of accepting being dumped and moving on, he told his ex, essentially, not only am I going to get back on the dating market, but I'm going to go date your enemy. And I don't even like them and they don't even like me.
Damn.
Y'all can be honest about that. It's okay. I don't know how a man who claims to care that much about the environment is now supporting somebody who, like you said, wanted to get rid of the...
Right, yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying is that the platform that RFK is running on, teaming up with Trump makes absolutely no sense because Trump is running on just the opposite. That makes no sense at all.
100%, but also, even for his case about vaccines and the information that we should have about vaccines, to a degree, I don't disagree with that. But let us remember that Trump was behind Operation Warp Speed to get those vaccines out to us faster.
Right.
That don't sound like something RFK would be down for.
That's another good point. Yeah, I mean, like one of my guests suggested that he believes that RFK was likely promised something by merging with Trump. Trump promised him something, probably, Ben Carson style. But real quick, while you were talking, I don't know if you can see this on my monitor very well, but apparently somebody has a billboard that says exactly what you're saying. It says RFK Jr., powered by MAGA, same biggest donor, Timothy Mellon. That was paid for by the Democratic National Committee, but they're saying exactly what you're saying there on that. This is a big ass billboard.
And for whatever reason, when the conversations have come up about RFK, and this is something that I agree with you 100%, the Democrats' messaging is bad.
Yeah.
It is horrible.
Yeah.
They have to find a better way to get across the things that they need to be saying, because this is one of the things that they could have said loud and clear a bunch of times. Like, hey, RFK supporters, okay, I see you. I recognize you. I understand that you're hurt with the guy that you wanted to be behind. But have you looked up everything behind that guy? Because if not, let me introduce you to Timothy Mellon.
Yeah.
And let me introduce you to who Timothy Mellon is and who Timothy Mellon aligns with. And you can go down that road. But even when we talk about Trump, when we keep it central to Trump, and I want to make these next few things succinct. Trump was sued for something called Trump University.
Yeah.
Some years ago.
Right.
We don't even have to talk about Project 2025. We could talk about Agenda 47, where in Agenda 47 there's a plan for an American university. Why would I trust Trump to be behind any institution of education when he was sued for Trump University? Why would that make sense?
Yeah. That's good commentary to discuss for sure.
Also, why would I trust a businessman who's been sued over 4,000 times?
Well, any business, but in defense of Trump, any businessman that is at his level probably has been sued a bunch of times. I'm going to assume Mark Cuban and Kevin O'Leary and Elon Musk, Amazon. What is the guy for Amazon? Jeff Bezos. They all been sued a bunch of times. That kind of happens.
And you know what? I give you that, but let me open specifics to that. This is a man who claimed to care about immigration, yet in 1998 was sued to the sum of $1.4 million for hiring undocumented workers. He's a hypocrite. I get it.
I'm not gonna deny that. He says one thing while doing another.
Exactly. We can go back further, and I know people get uncomfortable when you go back on people's history as far as you go back, but I do want to make this clear, especially to my fellow Black Americans who are voting for him. If the Central Park 5 thing didn't make you uncomfortable, let me take you to 1973 when he was 27, where he and his dad was running a bunch of residential properties. Now, one of the things we know Nixon for is being crooked and being a racist. 1973 was a part of Nixon's administration. President Trump, former President Trump, and his dad was sued by the crooked, racing Nixon administration because they were too crooked and too racist. Because they didn't allow Black and brown people in their residential.
Yeah, they were putting the letter C on the rental application to denote people of color.
There it is.
Yeah. That is something that is fairly well known. That I don't want to suggest that Trump is a racist, but I will say this.
Oh, no.
I will say this. There are two types of people in our society, and when I say two types, I mean two types of people that are in regards to racial issues. There's two types of people. There are the likes of the Ben Crumps and Al Sharptons and Jesse Jacksons that deal with race all the time. And then, of course, there are people like the Aryan Brotherhood and the KKK that also deal with race all the time. Both of those groups seem to think Trump is racist. They both do. So I'm not going to say he is racist, but people who deal with racism all the time, whether it is the white supremacists or whether it is the civil rights, they both seem to think that Trump represents something. So I'll let the cards fall where they may on that. But I'll give you the last word. I do got to move it on.
Oh, absolutely. Just a few other things. Let's make sure when we're talking about FEMA and the efforts that they are making by those who have been hit by Hurricane Helene and getting ready to respond to the hurricane that's coming now. This says y'all want to politicize it, which we shouldn't be doing. Let us not forget that in 2018, President Trump cut a significant amount of money from FEMA to reallocate those funds to border security.
Yeah, and that's once again a bad, and that's true, and once again that's bad Democratic messaging. People don't know that.
Exactly, and he continued to try to cut more funding specifically to climate disasters, specifically to that because he don't really give a damn too much about the ideal of climate control. But if we even then look at what happened just last month, well, I think a few weeks ago, there's a number of Republicans who voted against adding more funds to FEMA right before Helene came here. Ladies and gentlemen, when we're talking about these things, we have to make sure we're talking about the facts and not just our feelings. Your feelings matter. They matter to you, most importantly, but the facts should matter to all of us.
Well, but like I said, until the Democrats learn to improve their messaging, people are not going to learn that stuff the way you're suggesting. But Jay, thank you for coming in.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. I've never had a guest where so many folks favorite the man's voice. So Jay, a lot of folks favorite your voice. I got people in the comments asking, can he sing Barry White? Wow, you guys are crazy. But I never had a guest where so many people favorite his speaking voice. Hey, the man was smooth. Say it, go for it. The man was smooth. Until the Democrats learn, what the hell are you talking about? Says Bob McPherson. I'm simply saying the Democrats' messaging is not as strong as former President Trump. I think it was Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club that claimed Trump lies better than Biden tells the truth. I'll leave it for you folks to decipher that, but Trump is really good at messaging, whether people believe it or not. The perfect example, the Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs. His supporters didn't need to see any proof. That was good enough. Within a few hours, most of his supporters were online defending that without ever seeing any proof at all. Same thing with the election fraud. On January 6th, not to go there again, but on January 6th, you're talking, that was 2 months and 2 days after the election. January 6th is 2 months and 2 days from the 2020 election. Those folks were really, really angry and really believe the election was stolen. They're talking about stopping and stealing and all of that. There was no proof 2 months and 2 weeks after, 2 months and 2 days. Even Barr was still in the investigative process. They didn't have any solid evidence to go on that quick. They were still investigating the election. And those folks were going apeshit over the notion that the election was stolen. Once again, no proof at all. So I will say that Trump has the win on that, where he can get people to believe stuff with no evidence being required. I mean, just like I brought up earlier in the program about Trump saying that Obama wiretapped his office. If you support Trump, he didn't need to prove that. Him saying it was good enough. And he, till this day, has never proved that Obama wiretapped his office. So, whereas on the left, I don't believe Kamala Harris could say that stuff without the left asking for some proof on some of that. Now, she may get away with saying some things about Trump because the left really do not like Trump. But like, she couldn't say that, Venezuelan migrants are eating animals and things like that. That wouldn't work on the left. Whereas with Trump, they didn't need proof. It was good enough on its face. And people to this day are still defending it with little to no evidence. I mean, so, that does help out the Trump campaign when you got a lot of supporters that are going to believe you without any proof or evidence required. All you got to do is say it, and it shall be. Will G says, don't assume Trump is a racist, but he sure does stand awful close. As I said earlier in the program, with the description of the people I gave you, there are civil rights leaders that deal in race all the time. Jesse Jackson's, Al Sharpton's, Ben Crumps. They deal in race a lot. And like I said, the same thing with the supremacists and hate groups. They deal in race a lot. And both of them seem to have a similar opinion of former President Trump. I'll leave it to you folks to decide why. I don't listen. I'm like I said, we can debate whether you think of him or not, but they both seem to think that. Now I get folks will bring up, well, the Democratic Party was the party of slavery, and the Democratic Party was the party of Jim Crow and the KKK. None of them groups are hanging around the Democratic Party. You don't hear about white supremacists hanging around Biden rallies. They're not waving the Confederate flag at Democratic gatherings. For some reason, they're hanging around Trump. I mean, we could talk about, what is his name? Fuentes going to his house. Or the other guy, I can't think of the guy who ran for president some years ago when Trump said he didn't know who the guy is. These people are hanging around him for some reason. Maybe Trump is totally for peace and harmony, and they're seeing something in him that should not be seen, but there is something he is doing that's leading people to David Duke. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because David Duke stated that if you didn't vote for Trump, it was considered treasonous to the white race. Well, how would he say that? If the Democratic Party is the party of slavery and decay, why wouldn't he say you should vote for Biden? So there has to be something to that. Why are these groups gravitating towards him? Now, I see somebody in the comments said that, Trump dated a black supermodel or something like that. Fair. I don't know anything about it, but even if it's true, that doesn't necessarily excuse you. I mean, you could be hateful to women, but have a lot of girlfriends. I mean, maybe you just wanted something a little bit darker for a while. Keep in mind, the slave owners had sex with African-American women all the time. That don't mean they believed in equality for them. So I don't know where that's going. I see in the comments, Jack Jones says, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, Mr. Jack, this is a free speech uncensored program. Feel free to elaborate on that. We don't block, ban, or censor you here. Clarify what I don't know what I'm talking about and what should be correctly stated. I'll even bring you in the box and give you plenty of time to discuss it. We don't block, ban, or censor, folks. That's what free speech is about. Looking in the comments, Rick, can you say anything good about our great country? Give it a try. Kamala, 90% the same phones tracked to all her rally buses is very embarrassing. What do you mean? Kamala liar is what he said. He said Kamala liar. I like it. Kamala liar, 90% the same phones tracked to all her rallies bust in, very embarrassing. I don't know where you're going. I don't understand what you're trying to say there. Trump tried to get trying to get black women in Georgia put in jail for something they never did. I've never heard of that. Who did Trump try to get put in jail for something they never did? Not little, zero evidence, period. Yeah, I go back to what I said earlier. Yeah, Trump, one of the benefits of Trump is he can say stuff and there's little, well, you said, right, you corrected me on the little, you're right. There is no evidence required. And as I said earlier in the program, one of the things that Trump gets credit for is that, let's assume he did do something wrong. Just for shits and giggles, let's just pretend like Trump did something wrong. For MAGA, there's nobody that could tell him and they believe it. I mean, if you don't trust the FBI, you don't trust the CIA, you don't trust the police, at least in regards to Trump, he really could do something awful and have the benefit that MAGA wouldn't believe it because they don't trust any of the organizations that would be responsible for telling them. And I've asked folks on the right that. Who could tell you that Trump did something wrong and you'd actually believe it? They don't. I mean, if you believe Trump, then nobody else can. It kind of chokes off anybody being able to tell you what he did wrong. Real quick, the mother and daughter you're talking about Ruby Freeman. Oh, yeah, he did try to do that. That is true. Ruby and what was it, Shay, I think her name was. And they won a ton of money against Giuliani, saying that they were passing around USB drives like vials of crack. Yeah, they want to, I don't know how much they'll ever get of it. I guess they'll get some, but they won't get the huge amount they won from Giuliani. Just want receipts from everyone, not just Trump. Well, that's a good point, Jim. Anybody who says something, you should be able to verify. You want receipts from everyone. Well, the problem is, though, because Trump speaks so often, you're going to get more criticism of Trump. As I stated, Trump probably says about 10,000 words to every one word you hear from Kamala. and probably 20,000 from every one word you hear from Biden. So he's in a different universe. I mean, and by the way, Trump can say something and the public might be telling him, we know this is not true, sir. And he'll keep repeating it. Remember Tim Walz carrying a rifle in war? Once vice presidential candidate Tim Walz realized that people had caught him in that lie, he didn't keep saying it. Same thing about his lie he got caught in about being in Tiananmen Square. He don't keep saying it once he knows he's caught in it. He lied for sure. He got caught in the lie, but he doesn't keep saying it. The difference between those folks and Trump is Trump will know he's gotten caught in the lie, but because of his ego and the way he operates, he can't admit it or try to spin it. He sticks to it. So when folks say, well, Trump said 30,000 lies, and well, a lot of them are probably the same thing over and over again because he keeps saying it. I mean, okay, clearly the audience realizes what you're saying is not true. Why not back off of that? It's not working. People know it's not true. He'll keep saying it over and over again. Now, I see in the comments, Dan asked an unusually humorous question to some degree. Dan says, name a Trump lie, indicating that Trump has been so honest that you should have difficulty finding anything that Trump lied about. Dan, really? Really? Barack Obama wiretapped his office. Where's the evidence of that? Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Where's the evidence of that? Really? You can't think of anything Trump was dishonest about? You think he told the truth? I'm not even going to say that about Obama or Biden or Clinton or Kamala Harris. No politician is 100% truthful. You're really asking me to name one lie that Trump told? Indicating that Trump is always honest? Wow. Okay. All right. Looking at it. Jesus. Kim lied. I don't know who Kim is. Kim lied. Oh, Kamala. Kamala lied about everyone if her policies. Dan, that I don't quite get what you're saying there, but you really want to know? You're basically making it sound like Trump has never told a lie to the point where I challenge you to name one. Wow. I mean, the court cases he lost are clear-cut indications that even the judges believe he was lying to them. I mean, there's a reason why the judges ruled against him, because they don't believe him. The same thing with the election fraud cases. I mean, you're losing in court because the judges don't believe you're telling the truth. Wow, I can't believe you would ask that. I mean, that would be probably one of the slowest lobs. You know, when they say you ask somebody a question, they do this in journalism. When you ask somebody a question that's easy and you mean for them to hit it out of the park. Like you might ask Trump, what are you going to do good for the American people? That's an easy question. That's a lob. We can hit it out of the park. When you ask somebody to name one lie that Trump told, that is a lob. That is like literally letting the 2-year-old pitch to a professional softball player. That's a lob. I mean, how far do you want it to be hit? Would be a response to something like that. Name one lie. Wow. I can't believe you would even ask that. I mean, it's humorous. You caught me off guard by saying that. Don't assume, real quick, I wanted to respond to a super chat. Name one lie. Thank you, Will G, by the way. It says Ruby Freeman. Yeah, that's the other one I didn't know. Trump likes word salads to stay relevant. Geminis love to talk. Is that what Trump's zodiac sign is? As a Gemini? I did not know that. Real quick, he breathes lies, says Moon Chow. I mean, I can't believe he asked me that. To name one lie that Trump has told. Like, really? Even folks who believe that Trump is miles ahead of Biden and Kamala Harris believe that Trump is going to give us an America that is significantly better than what Biden or Harris would have ever dreamed of. Even most of those folks believe Trump has told some lies. I mean, even his biggest, most ardent supporters would agree that he's lied about a few things. Nothing? Tammy Green. Wow. Facts are not facts anymore to some people, says Elijah Nelson. There's some of that. Well, you didn't hear one lie. I heard conjecture. Oh, my God. So you believe that Obama was born in Kenya, which is something Trump said a lot. That's conjecture to you? What is that to you? I mean, I'll ask the question I've been asking throughout the program. When he says controversial things, is there any proof required? If he doesn't prove it and it's never proven, it just remains conjecture to you. He said he won the 2020 election by a landslide. Are you saying that's a fact? Or is that conjecture, as you're saying? I'm assuming you believe he never slept with Stormy Daniels, didn't meet her, all of that. You believe that too? All right. Never slept with her. The woman is literally describing his genitalia and the inside of his house. Never, and he just decided to pay her $130,000 to be nice. Because if you didn't sleep with her, why are you? Okay, he's walking around with a letter that says, Stormy Daniels signed a letter, said, I never slept with Trump. Why would any dude have that on him? That would be like a girlfriend of mine accusing me of cheating, and I pull out a letter from the girl that she's accusing me of cheating with that says, we didn't sleep together and then signed. Why the hell do you have that? Who carries some shit like that around with them? Why do you have that? Jesus. Let me go back. I mean, some of the things that you defending, Dan, is hilarious. Why would you have a letter from this woman saying you didn't sleep with her and paying $130,000 for it? Can somebody explain why? How does that happen? What is the purpose of that? I mean, it's humorous that you use some of this stuff for defense. It's just humorous. Real quick in the comments, would you no standing and could not tell their BS under oath, and that is true. That's what hurt the Trump's election fraud court cases. They could say anything they wanted to, but when it came to going to court and having to say it under oath, they couldn't do it because it's not based on anything. Like Rudolph Giuliani with the whole Ruby Freeman thing. He go under oath and say that stuff. Perjury. That stuff's not true. It's not based on anything. It's based on you assuming and things like that. You can't go to court with any of that, and that's why they didn't win in court. But Dan, I will say, Dan, you took the cake today. Your comment was probably the most memorable from today's show, is to name one lie and saying that it's only conjecture. In other words, Trump didn't lie about anything at all since he came down the escalator. Even the money he said he's worth, Forbes is saying he lied about it. Wow. CFC, good evening. Can you hear me? Okay, my guest is apparently away from the device. We'll move it on. Obama likes men too. So what? Michael Sparks, you're saying that Obama's gay? I don't know where that came from. Trump is clearly using a hurricane to campaign on. That is true. He is going to lose because this is unheard of in a USA election. He may not lose. Don't go that far. So he's a billionaire. He got everybody out of trouble for when they got indicted. Did he? I'm confused. Your name is a handsome liberal, yet you have that racist hat in the background. It says tortured soul with a pen. Well, we are MAGA friendly on the program. I've said that from day one. Since we've been doing this for a few years now, we're MAGA friendly. You can say what you want about the hat, but the sole purpose of the hat is I believe that conservatives, Republicans, and definitely MAGA do not get a fair shake in the mainstream media. The minute they start speaking, out come the bans, blocks, and censors. So I keep the MAGA hat in the background and let them know. Doesn't matter what your political affiliation is here, you will be allowed to speak with respect. We don't talk down to guests. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You know we say that every day. You can be critical of anybody, including the host, because we're all about free speech. So that's the purpose of the hat, is because MAGA is used to seeing liberals go ape shit when they hear an opinion they don't like or one that is favorable to Trump. We don't do that here. We allow you to speak. Looking in the comments, Reagan, how about being an honest, sane person that cares about people, trying to help immigrants before they have to leave their country in the first place, helping Biden with his good part? Well, in regards to immigrants in the right, as I've said this before, if Trump had his way, if MAGA had their way. I personally believe, you can correct me in the comments or criticize if you will, but I believe it would be almost impossible to come in this country legally across the southern border. If Trump and MAGA had their way, let's say they had a super majority on the Hill, I don't think you would be able to legally come in this country across the southern border just about at all. They would suggest there's enough people in this country now, and until we get rid of all of them, the border's closed. And that would take until the rest of Trump's life. Not to mention, if you could get that type of a ruling where people believe we need to get the folks out of this country before we let more people in, then all you got to do once you get that is to slow down the deportations so that nobody can ever come in. Okay, there's 18 million of them. Let's get out about 15 million and stop and leave 3 million in the country. And then go really slow so that way we can say we haven't gotten all the rest of them out yet. I think that would be it. I think that would be it in regards to coming here legally across the southern border if Trump could get his way. Because if you watch right-wing media, like I absorb a lot of it, and I see in the comments, Fancy Prancy says, sounds great. Yeah, exactly. I think that would be the end of it. I think you would not be able to get in the country again. If you watch right-wing media, anytime they're talking about immigrants, it's a negative. Period. That's it. You don't see them going on a farm where they're picking oranges and interviewing people and having a friendly conversation. If they are talking about immigrants on right-wing media, it's something bad. Just like with the LGBT community. If they're talking about the LGBT community on right-wing media, it's something bad. Something that's being done that they don't like. There are no friendly conversations. It's something bad, which is why I often say also that if Trump was to get in, particularly, I think the transgender community would disappear. But we could talk about whether same-sex marriage would be rolled back and things like that. But the transgender community would pretty much almost be outlawed. If you could get people to believe that they are harmful to children, which is what the right tends to believe, that they're harmful to children, whether it's drag queen shows, teaching about them in schools or anything, then they wouldn't be allowed to be around kids. And that would be pretty much a very restrictive society. Just think about how difficult it is for child sex offenders once they get out. You can't live hardly anywhere. You can't work hardly anywhere. You can't be hardly anywhere. We don't want you in parks. We don't want you around schools, playgrounds, none of that. So if you can convince enough people that the transgender community is harmful to children, which is what the right says all the time about going in bathrooms and all of that, then yeah, you start passing laws based on that and you would pretty much get rid of them. Just for their own sake, they would have to remain the gender they are at birth so they could get a job and so they can navigate through society, because they would be getting blocked every damn where they're going. I think really you'd be to get rid of them, I think. Will G says, Trump wanted the Stormy situation to a figment of our imagination, but obviously he is too dumb. Write up an NDA and check as evidence. Yeah. The Stormy Daniels thing happened. I'm never going to believe that Trump didn't sleep with Stormy Daniels. And look, I'm not trying to bash Trump 24/7, but he slept with Stormy Daniels. I think that's crazy. That there are plenty of things that might be blamed on Trump that shouldn't be getting blamed on him. But the Stormy Daniels thing, he definitely did that. But I understand he's married. I understand why he wouldn't admit it. I think most married men would not admit it. Fair enough. But they're suggesting, I don't know if this is true or not, but they're suggesting the whole grab her by the you-know-what locker room talk. They're suggesting that Melania Trump is the one that told him to do that, which would probably mean that Melania Trump may know that the dude was out there doing things, but she wasn't in it for fidelity. She was in it. Maybe she's in it for something else. Maybe, there are wives out there that don't care if they man step out. Everybody don't have the same type of marriage. Keep in mind, it's not like Trump and Melania are real hardcore devoted Christians. They could be in a lifestyle or something like that. You never know. Looking in the comments, Trump gets a pass too much, says T-Mac. A lot of love for that guy. A lot of love for Trump. All right, let me go back to the box. I was trying to bring up Tammy We'll try it again. What did I do here? Okay, Renee. We'll see if Renee goes. Renee, good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. What? Go ahead.
Good.
What brought you on this evening?
Georgia. I'm from Georgia.
Okay.
The great state of Georgia. The only thing that I hate about Trump is that the man just lied too much, and that really, really hits home with me.
Well, I got a viewer, but to interrupt you, I got a viewer, Dan, in the comments, is stating that
about the wall. Trump lied about some of the immigrants.
How did he lie about the wall?
Let me finish. He lied about January the 6th. He lied about screwing that woman. He lies about everything that come out of his mouth. Okay, you don't want to say he lied. Just put it like this. He did everything that's bigger than not the truth.
Okay.
I just want to say one thing, and I'm gonna get out because I'm not gonna go back and forth.
All right, go ahead.
Every time when Trump opened his mouth, it's a lie. I wish that the man would just tell the truth for once in his life. And I'm gonna make a prediction, and I do believe this. If he doesn't win this year, I predict Melania, his wife, is gonna divorce him.
Wow.
And the reason why I say that, let me tell you something. I am a female. I am a woman. A woman needs to be loved. A woman needs to be touched. And a woman needs to be caressed. And Trump ain't doing none of that to her. I guarantee you, if he don't win, she's going to divorce him. Because you know what? She wants her freedom. She wants her freedom.
All right, Renee. Wow, that's a big prediction. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That was different. I'm hearing while she was saying that a woman needs love. I'm hearing, I don't know if you folks are old enough or probably even remember Ray Parker Jr. He's also the one that wrote the Ghostbusters anthem. Who you going to call Ghostbusters? He's singing it. Well, because a woman needs love just like you do. I'm hearing that song while she's saying that. She'll fool around. You know, some of you folks probably ain't heard that. That's going back to the 80s, but I'm certainly hearing that song while she's singing it. While she's saying that, I would play it, but I don't want to copyright have a copyright violation on the live stream. But I'm really hearing that song, and right after I log off, I'm gonna listen to a little bit of Ray Parker Jr. Anyhow, looking in the comments, wow, you think Melania Trump is going to leave the president after it's over with? Yes, that's the lyrics to it there, Clint. Don't kid yourself into thinking that she don't. She can fool around just like you do. Looking at the comments. Wow, really cute that song up in my mind. If Trump had his way, he would make all brown and black people that don't kiss up to him illegal. Americans? I don't want to go that far. You think Trump would make all brown people? Wow. Holy shit. Hell, she already moved out, says the chief. Yeah. You know something? I will say this. And I see in the comments, Chris also says, yep, she's going to leave him. Now, I disagree with her in regards to Trump lied about the wall. And I was going to ask her that, but she said she didn't want to go back and forth. So I gave her the ability to, the right to finish her statement, and I just left it at that. But Trump didn't lie about the wall. I mean, I do believe he intended to build a wall, and he received a lot of resistance from the left rather. He was going to build a wall, 100% certain of that. So I disagree with her that Trump lied about the wall. But the Melania Trump thing, shit. I don't. Now, obviously, none of us know. But if I had to speculate, there's a real possibility of that happening. I mean, at this point, Melania Trump's set for life. And, is there anybody that believes that their marriage culminated out of love? I mean, it's some arranged marriage type shit. Quid pro quo. I mean, Trump wanted to have a trophy wife on his arm, and she wanted, maybe to get her family in the country, maybe to make a killing, which she did. It wouldn't. I mean, I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't know if that would happen. But it would not surprise me at all if they didn't make it after that. I could see that. Now, the only thing I think that might put a fly in the ointment, so to speak, is that the power of Trump is immeasurable. And what do I mean by that? If Kamala, oh my God, if Melania and Trump broke up and Trump started talking negatively about Melania, her life could be in danger. If he started saying she's a gold digger and she was only in it, to take money and things like that, there's a lot of MAGA that would probably be after her. So to some degree, she may have to hang on for at least that sake. Now, obviously, if he passes away, she probably will inherit some money as well. I don't know we can't go into the man's finances because he got so many damn court cases that are going to be eating at his money as well. But she's rich no matter what. It's just a matter of how rich. Now, Crypto Tracker, you said it's a prenup. Yeah, but at this point, they've been married long enough that do prenups last forever? I mean, like if you get into a prenup and you're married to somebody for 20 years, let's say. I don't know how long Melania and Trump has been together, but they got like a 10, 12-year-old kid or something. I mean, they've been together for a long time. So at some point, the prenup is about you leaving the marriage with what you came with, so that the woman can't take it. But obviously, Trump would have earned a ton of money while they were together. She's entitled to some of that. She's going to be entitled to a large portion of that. I mean, whatever he had before they got together is one thing, but they've been together for a long time. You're going to tell me she doesn't accumulate any wealth over the last 10, 15 years they're together? I don't know. Now, obviously in various states and things like that, the prenups, but also, I'll tell you this, with so many judges not liking Trump, so many women not liking Trump, shit, it probably wouldn't be hard to find a judge that would throw his prenup out the window. I mean, I just want to tell you the way it is. I mean, I'm not saying that that's not wrong to do that, but we're talking about Trump. It probably wouldn't be hard for Melania Trump to find a female judge or a liberal judge or a judge, a right-wing. I mean, Trump has made enemies with every damn body. It might not be hard to find a judge that if Melania contested the prenup would throw it out. I mean, the guy's made a lot of enemies and he likes making enemies. So that does have consequences to it. She's going to make millions on her book. Patriot for life. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. It doesn't matter, prenups or whatever. Melania Trump is set for life. Okay, maybe she don't walk away from the marriage a billionaire, but she'll likely have at least 100 million. I mean, she's got to be, 50 almost? It's not like she's going to ever be hurting for cash. I'll tell you this in regards to Melania Trump. Damn the book she has out now. The book she has out now ain't shit compared to the money she could make if she writes a tell-all book on Trump. The election, things that may have been said behind the scenes, maybe conversations with Putin. She could ad-lib on a lot of that shit and make a killing. It doesn't matter what she makes on the book she has now. If she was to break up with Trump and write a tell-all book, 8 figures easy. So she's set for life. It don't matter what goes on with her and the Trump split. She's set for life. That book would be worth a killing because you're going to get books once Trump is out of the picture from people like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and Ron DeSantis. Them folks are going to be writing books. Once Trump is no longer the powerhouse that he is right now, where he has control of all of the purse strings, once he does not have that gravitational pull of the Republican Party that he does to keep everybody in orbit going around him like the sun. Once that's gone, I can guarantee you there's going to be Republicans writing books every fucking where. All over the place. People are going to be writing books about, things they wanted to say they couldn't and all. I mean, they're going to be coming from everywhere. Everybody from the Scaramucci's to the Ambassador Bowden's, like I said, the Ted Cruz's, the Ron DeSantis, all of them folks are going to be writing books. Melania Trump would be worth more than any of them, but they're all going to be writing books. Looking in the comments real quick. I don't know what I'm looking at there, but if Trump had his, I hate that you said Jesus, Trump had his way, you would make black and brown people illegal. Will, damn. Will, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, if Trump okay, you said yes, if Trump is will not give aid. Okay, you wrote this funny though. If Trump will not give aid to states for not kissing up to him and is willing to revoke protective status for the Haitians, which he is promising to do in Ohio, he will move to revoke naturalization. He is that. Okay, so now I get what he's saying. Because he is promising to revoke the protected, I always say that word hard, protected status for the Haitian migrants. The Haitian migrants are here illegally. They are here legally. And Trump is saying that even though they're here legally, if he becomes president, he's going to kick them out of the country. So there goes that whole, we're not against immigrants. We just want you to come here legally. Well, there goes that. But he is saying it. So what Will is saying is that if he's willing to do that, that shows he will make black and brown people illegals. Based on his explanation, it's hard to deny him because he is doing that. So what he is basically saying is that, okay, let's say, for instance, all of the ones that are here seeking asylum. Now, we know a lot of them don't have a legitimate case to begin with. A lot of the asylum seekers, they don't have a legitimate reason to be here. They're just hoping and praying that something happens while they're here that'll allow them to stay. Well, if Trump gets elected, it's not going to happen. But like what Will is saying, even a lot of folks with legitimate cases, like the Haitian migrants, for instance, are going to get kicked out because the Haitian migrants are going back to a war zone. And Trump is going to send them there. Trump is going to send them back there anyway. Even though they're here legally working, not committing crimes, not eating cats and dogs, he's still going to kick them out. No mercy. Sweep the leg. So I agree with Will that if Trump becomes president, there's going to be a lot of immigrants getting kicked out of the country that are not just illegal ones. As I stated, and you see in the comments, people were agreeing, if Trump got in power, it would be almost impossible to migrate in this country across the southern border. That would be almost, if in my opinion, some of you may disagree, but in my opinion, if Trump became president, if you were a black or brown immigrant coming across the southern border, it would be almost impossible to come here. I mean, isn't he quoted as saying, why do they have to come here from shithole countries? Well, all of those are countries that would be classified as a shithole country. He's made it clear he don't like people coming from shithole countries. He wants people to come here from wealthier nations. That's going to be probably Western, Eastern Europe, Australia, maybe New Zealand. But Australians and New Zealanders aren't really interested in coming to America. That's why you don't see a lot of them. But yeah, he's talking about probably Eastern Europe is where you get most of them. Western Europeans are also quite happy where they are. They're not trying to come here. It would be mostly Eastern Europeans. Looking in the comments, God will judge this country and condemn it if he does. Eric B., I can't disagree. We've done a lot of anti-Christian shit to be where we are. We're at the top of the food chain, and we didn't get there by praying and read the Bible. Doesn't matter the color, don't come, says Cedric. Hey, well, okay, so what you're saying is Trump is not going to be going after different immigrants of different colors. He said, what you're saying is, Cedric, is it doesn't matter what color you are, just don't come to the country. Well, let's be clear. Most of the people that are going to come to the country are people of color. Most of the people that live in countries that are Caucasian based they're doing better. They're not going to, most of them folks are not trying to come to the country. So the overwhelming majority of people that do come to this country are people of color. And yeah, they're going to be the ones that are going to be getting turned back. Changing World Order on YouTube, must watch. Haven't heard of that, Patriot. Have not heard of that. I like the name of Patriot for Life. Chris, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Chris, you and Proof are as oxymoron, says Bam Bam. Me? Little old me? Chris, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, so what do you think? Do you think I'm getting it wrong suggesting that if Trump becomes president, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to come to America across the southern border?
It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Not impossible. It'll be difficult.
Yeah. I think, well, okay, not impossible. I'll give you that. Maybe 90-10. Maybe 90% of the people that try to come in get denied. Maybe 10% get in. And I think that's even high.
70, 30.
30? 30? Really?
Yeah, I'd say 70. Yeah. He can't be that strict.
I think he can. I actually think he could. Okay, 70-30, but that's... So you do admit it would be strict, just not as strict as I believe.
I don't think it'd be that 90-10. No.
I don't know. I think the notion is we got so many of them here that we don't need any more. We need to get rid of the ones that are here first before we let any more in. And once you get people to follow that, then just take your time getting rid of the people that are here. Because you'll always be able to use them as an excuse not to let new ones in.
No, you got a point far as that go. Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah. There's your 90-10. Nope.
Yeah, that's your 90-10.
All right.
You got a point there.
Okay, fair enough. So what brought you on this evening?
Yeah, a lot of stuff I disagree with, as far as,
No problem. Now, give me an example.
Trump this, Trump that, he's trying to take over this, take over that. He's not doing that much. Most people know that Trump is talking in riddles.
Well, and you could be right there, Chris, but is it wrong to hold a presidential candidate accountable for what they're saying? I mean,
no, it's not.
Okay,
not at all.
Okay. Because if you're talking about something, that people are wrongfully attributing to him, that's one thing. But if he is saying something and you're telling the people, well, you should be smart enough to know that ain't true, then that's different.
That's my problem. I think a lot of people should have more common sense to know better that this guy is just talking. He's yapping at the mouth. At the rallies, he looked tired. Do you see him at the rallies? I watched his rallies for the last week. He's tired now.
Well, he is actually, I got a rally on behind. He's on.
Yeah, he's saying the same things over and over that been debunked, but he could continue to repeat it. And I don't understand why people is even there watching him.
Well, because he might become the next president, Chris. And by the way, he's at a rally right now. I got on the monitor behind me. I just seen him pop up there. I don't know where he's at, but he's talking right now.
He's Kamala this, Kamala that, and he's Biden this, Biden that. But he's not talking policies. He's really not talking about. He's just said the country's going to hell, and the country's this, the country's that. And people are tired of hearing that.
I don't think so. I think people are tired of the border being open. I think people
sound tired. He sounds tired when he's speaking. Do you listen to him? He sounds tired. He's not really riled up like he was in 2020, 2016. He was really exciting and riled up. Now he's more just tired.
I don't know. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just see what he's saying here.
Not in the Republican Party. I will tell you that. It's not in the Republican Party.
He don't look tired to me. I can't put it on the screen. I don't want to get copyrighted, but...
And I say that the Republican Party has not been infected by this horrible disease. And hopefully it won't be. It won't be as long as I'm in charge, I can tell you that.
That's a policy.
What disease?
I don't know what he's saying about disease.
Endless candles, photos, and empty chairs remind us why it's so important that the toxic poison of anti-Semitism be condemned, confronted, and stopped. Anti-Semitic bigotry has no place in a civilized society. It has no place in our universities, and it has no place in the United States of America. No place.
I don't see what he's saying is that bad. I mean, that's policy.
Okay, now he's moving to this is about the war over in
Well, it is October 7th. I mean, he's
moving. Yeah, he's talking about that today. Okay. I mean, okay. It sounds good, but I still don't buy into it. I don't buy into it. People protesting is your First Amendment, so I don't have an issue with people protesting. They're against the war. They was against the Vietnam War, so I don't have an issue with people against war. I don't have an issue with that,
Yeah, but I disagree with you that he's tired. And I mean, now you say he's saying the same thing over and over again. That's true, but Kamala Harris is doing the same thing too. How many times did she have to say, I grew up in a middle class family? I mean, she's doing that. That's kind of what rallies are about.
I get what you're saying. Okay, Kamala Harris. Now you saying okay about her, right? But you got to look at the track record. What happened on January 6th, and this, that. You know, you got to look at all that stuff. So I'm looking at the past. You know what I mean? Yeah, they all the politicians, they do talk. Okay. But you know, I'm looking at your track record. I am looking at that.
What is Kamala Harris's track record?
It's not bad. Let's put it that way.
What is it?
Nothing.
Is it anything?
Nothing, but it's not bad.
Okay, so it's non-existent, basically.
It's non-existent, but it's not bad.
And that's who we're voting for president. She, she don't have a record, but she's not bad.
Okay, listen here. What choice do you have? You have two choices,
All right. I'll give you that. Okay.
You got two choices.
But you do understand why some people are saying it. I mean, Kamala Harris, at the end of the day, she really hasn't done anything. I mean, under Trump, even some of Trump's detractors will admit things were more affordable when he was in office. You didn't have all these wars breaking out.
Come on now. We know that's all about the pandemic. Everybody that knows, you've been living long enough, you know the pandemic affected everybody. The pandemic is the reason why the prices went up after the pandemic, because everybody lost money, businesses closed. Of course, afterwards, everything went up, not only in America, all over the world.
Did the wars break out?
I've traveled all over the world. Prices are up everywhere.
Did the wars break out because of the pandemic too?
No, I wouldn't say no.
So
the war ain't got, okay. I don't think the war got nothing to do with that. But it could. I don't know. But no. I'm not gonna blame the war on Biden. No, I'm not gonna do that.
What about all of the huge influx of immigrants coming in the country, which is a major issue? Do you blame that on the pandemic?
That's probably part of the pandemic.
What? Why would people come to the United States in the middle of a pandemic?
But you got to remember, what have we done as a country to protect those people? Okay, have we done anything negatively to make their country where they want to leave it? Think about it. Why are they leaving? Let's get to the root of the problem.
Well, some of that is. I do agree. America has its hand in ruining a lot of countries, such as Venezuela. But at the same time, too, some of that is just their own corruption. Like in Venezuela, for instance, they just had a new leadership take place. And America and the West don't recognize the guy. I mean, they believe it was a corrupt election. We didn't have nothing to do with that. Their own leadership is corrupt. You can't blame America on that. So in that case, instead of Venezuela, some would argue, instead of the manpower in Venezuela fleeing their own homeland to come here, they should defend their country against a rogue leadership.
You got a point, but you got me busted on that one. Right. I really, but you know what? I know some Venezuelans. They came up here to Michigan and they working. So I accept them. They're fine. They working and they good workers.
Yeah, but why not use that energy to flip your country so you'd have a nice place to stay and call home?
In their own country, that's what you're saying?
Yeah. Venezuela got a ton of natural gas, and I mean they got shoreline.
We have no control over their government.
No. I know we don't have control. What I'm saying is the Venezuelan men themselves. Why don't they fight to correct their own country instead of coming here?
Or something. You know, like a civil war or something.
Well, that's kind of what happened. I mean, the power that be is corrupt. He didn't legitimately win the office. That's the only way you're going to get rid of him.
We could say that about every country then. We could say that about Korea, Japan. I mean, we could say that about China. We could say that about all them countries. People been coming here for hundreds of years. So, I mean,
Yeah, but some people are saying... Yeah, but some people are saying that is a drain on our economy and resources, that people are just...
It's been a drain on our economy for over 100 years.
So
Western Europeans, Eastern Europeans been coming here, Ellis Island, Angel Island, from Asia. So, you know.
So you just let it keep happening? So because it's been always happening, you just let it continue?
What's the solution? We haven't figured it out in 200 years. What's the solution?
Well, in my opinion, this probably wouldn't be popular with a lot of folks, but in my opinion, if you got a country where a lot of people are fleeing, I say that the U.S. military should go down there and conquer the damn thing and get rid of the dude and then give them their country back and send them back to it. Take the dude out of power, let him have a free and fair election under the guard of the United States. We can make it a territory if we want. I mean, because at the end of the day, if all your manpower is coming here, then shit, your country ain't necessarily being well taken care of either. I think that Venezuela, if America made it a territory like Puerto Rico, at the end of the day, I think the Venezuelans would probably be happier than they are now. So make it a territory. They can still lead their own country, just like Puerto Ricans are still running their own government in Puerto Rico. But they are a territory of the United States. So that way, if all your manpower is coming here, then we're going to go to your country. Since you're leaving your country, then shit, we're going to take it. And then we'll make your country more palatable and you can go back home. Go ahead.
Okay, so why they didn't do that to Europe countries back in the 1920s, 1910s, 1890s?
We didn't have a number of migrants coming from Europe. Now I get your point, but first of all, during that era, travel was different, weaponry was different, but also too, the amount of Germans or Irish that came to this country, it pales in comparison to some of the numbers of the people percentage-wise that's coming across the southern border because they can walk.
I kind of disagree with you. I think the numbers was bigger 100 years ago. The numbers was larger 100 years ago than they are today.
All right, maybe.
I think these numbers is inflated. I think the numbers are inflated right now. They was much bigger 100 years ago, I believe.
You think just as many Germans or Irish or folks from Europe came to this country compared to folks coming across the southern border that can do it on foot?
Oh, no, not on foot. No.
What are you saying then?
No, I'm not. No, I'm just saying back then the numbers was larger.
I don't see it.
Asia and from Asia and Europe, both sides was coming over here in big number. That's how the population got 330 million.
Yeah, but you're still talking about people that's got to come here by ship. How many people are coming here on a ship each time? You got caravans on foot, 10,000 strong. They're not coming here by ship like that. I don't think it was even close.
Not much. 10,000 that's not a lot in comparison.
Yeah, but it's 10,000. 10,000. There'll be one caravan coming, and then there's another one. They're lined up like hurricanes coming here. You're comparing that to the Chinese that came here by ship. You think it was? I don't think they're in the same numbers, the same universe.
No, I get your point. What I'm saying is that we complaining now, but we wasn't complaining then. So I think what it is that the melanin of the people.
It's definitely racially involved. I mean, the Germans in
Europe, everything is a problem now because they're not coming from Europe. That's what the issue is.
100% agree with that. America's always been friendlier to white immigrants than immigrants of color. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But I'm saying just in sheer number size, there's always been more brown immigrants coming across the southern border than white immigrants coming by ship. Just because the method of getting here is a lot easier for the brown immigrants.
Right, and not only that why do America make it harder for other countries?
Racism.
Right. Okay. Right. So you see the issue?
Yeah.
Why they coming illegally? Because it's so hard for them to come here.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
it's easier to come from Western Europe. You can get in here a piece of cake. But then when you come from another country, it's a problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree that
that's an American problem. That's an American issue.
Yeah,
make it legal for everybody. You understand what I'm saying?
That ain't gonna happen. I mean, just like when I migrated to Australia personally, it wasn't that hard for me to get there, but Australia also had a history of doing the same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, racism is probably the number one issue, but also too, rich people don't like poor people. So it's always gonna be easier for wealthier people to migrate to our country than poor people because we believe that poor people are coming here to steal resources and take things. If a person got money, we don't fear that. So white immigrants don't tend to be as poor as brown immigrants. So that's in addition to racism. I'm not denying racism by any means. And that's probably the number one issue, but wealth is going to matter as well. And that is one of the things is that, most of the immigrants coming across the southern border, they're coming from poor countries. So they don't want them here because they think, what do you hear the right saying? They're taking their jobs and all of this stuff. You're not going to have to worry about that with somebody coming from France or Germany. You're not going to hear that they're taking jobs.
That's true. Right.
Yeah. So,
right.
All right, I got to move it on, Chris. Go ahead.
What jobs are they taking? What jobs are they taking?
Black jobs. They're taking black jobs.
Come on now. They're taking the jobs that nobody wants.
Not all of them.
They're taking the jobs. Actually, they're taking the jobs that we need to build this country up.
I don't totally buy into that, and I'll tell you why. All immigrants do not come to America to pick fruits and work in factories. Some of them do end up getting highly skilled, educated jobs. If they don't get them, well, then that goes against the suggestion that they're only doing jobs no Americans want. No, some of them do jobs Americans will want too.
They must have some skills then. They must have some skills to be able to do those jobs.
Well, shit, how long does it take for them to learn it? I mean, let's say you come over here and you're picking fruit, but you're going to college or you find a way to get your hands on a grant and you go get a little bit of an education. Because you will work for cheaper in a skilled labor job, you're still likely to get it. I mean, there's a reason why our medical facilities are loaded with people from India and shit like that. That's a highly skilled job, but they're getting paid less than an American would get paid. So even if an immigrant comes across the southern border, yeah, you can pick fruit or do construction for a year or two, but if you focus on a little bit of education and get yourself a little bit of education, you'll qualify for skilled jobs and you'll get them because they know you'll work for cheaper.
Exactly.
Okay. So they're not just doing jobs that no Americans want. They're doing a lot of jobs, including jobs that Americans will do. I'll give you the last word, though.
Right. And what's the unemployment rate?
Right now, 4.1%.
And that's pretty low.
That is almost full employment.
Most Americans, if they want to work, they can find a job.
That's true.
They're not taking jobs.
I'll talk about it on the other side. Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anytime. And I will say he is right. There is no issue with finding employment in America right now. If you want a job, you can get one. The problem is, what do the jobs pay? Now, I will give credit to Biden. I'm usually talking about Trump, but I'll give credit to Biden in regards to this. Salaries have went up under President Biden. Talking about the economy and the price of goods and services and groceries and shit. They don't talk about the fact that entry-level salaries have went up under President Biden. They have went up. And by the way, let's say Trump gets back in office and Trump brings the economy down to where some folks agree I can afford groceries. Well, the people who got those higher salaries, that's not going to go away. But the salaries under the Biden administration have went up. There's a lot of liberal states in particular that are way above a $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, in the Republican Bible Belt states, it's kind of still the same story as usual, $7 and $8 an hour minimum wage. But even down there, some of those jobs are paying more. They don't talk about that. They just talk about the fact that things have went up in price. And I will say that I often ask folks that. You talk about how much shit costs now since Trump was in office. Are you not making any more money than you used to 4 or 5 years ago? Your boss ain't gave you a raise at all? I mean, I get that food may have went up faster than your income, but you're making the same pay you did 5 years ago? That ain't Biden's fault. If you're working at the same job you were back in 2016, 17, 18, and 19, and you're making the same salary, that ain't Biden's fault. That's something between you and your employer. Maybe you need to start putting in some additional applications and working on your resume again. You got a shitty employer. Because I can tell you one thing, there's a good chance he ain't making the same as he was back then. He's probably saw a raise. Shout out to Trump's tax cuts. So you can't, everything can't, I'm willing to blame, on both parties, but everything can't be blamed on Biden. And I do believe that Biden deserves credit for the simple fact that salaries have went up under his watch. You're not going to hear the right say that, but they have. Salaries are up if you work at docks, LOL. That's not true. You're saying that salaries are up if you work in a burger flipping job. I always say that salaries for, let's say, burger flipping jobs or minimum wage jobs, you got to look at the salary structure like the foundation on a home. If you live, let's say you're in the attic, you're at the top of the house. If the foundation raises up, you're higher up in the attic too. Your elevation is one up too. It's not like the burger flipper that makes $8 an hour and a paramedic that might be making $16 an hour. If the burger flipper goes from $7 an hour to $15 an hour, they're not going to keep the paramedic at the same damn salary. The paramedic salary is going to go up as well. Why the hell would I become a paramedic when I can flip burgers and make the same thing? So the paramedic salary is going to go up too. People don't understand that. If the burger flipper's salaries go up, everybody goes up. It doesn't just apply to them. What's crazy is you'll have people like the paramedics saying, burger flippers shouldn't get $15 an hour. I'm only making 15. Not realizing that you should use that as an excuse during your next salary negotiation. Why should I stay here and continue saving lives if I can go down the street and serve chicken for the same price? Your employer will have to raise your salary to compete. People don't understand that shit. It's crazy during the push for $15 an hour minimum wage, how many folks making $40,000, $50,000 a year were telling the $20,000 a year person they didn't deserve a raise, while actually defending the guy making $400 million, saying he deserved his money and he worked hard for it, and nobody should tax him or limit how much he can make. Craziest shit I've ever heard of. Complaints go up. They don't go down. You got folks barely getting by, punching down at a person that's struggling even more than them. Telling the person, look, I'm working 2 jobs to get by, and I'm going to look at the guy working 3 jobs to get by and tell him he doesn't deserve a raise. Meanwhile, the dude working 4 or 5 hours a week, making 100 times more than both of us, I'm going to defend him? Never made sense. But this is something you hear in this country. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate the 73,000. I didn't promote the smashing of the screen, but I do appreciate you folks that have tapped the screen. Nevertheless, I got a few obligations I got to meet, so I do have to suspend the live until tomorrow. As always, follow the program on TikTok. Subscribe on YouTube if you will. We are all about free speech, MAGA friendly to the end. If you Republicans can buy Trump's shit, you're not hurting. I like that. That says Chanel. I do agree with that. We're in a struggling economy. People can barely afford groceries, but they're walking around with $300 Trump shoes on. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Catch you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Them shoes are